two, one. Well, there it is. And how you doing, everybody? This is Eric, aka Wolf Bitten, and I have a very special guest, a repeat guest, a friend, and it should be a very interesting discussion tonight between an atheist and a Christian. And I think we're going to be able to show people that Christians and atheists can coexist and they can actually have respectful, considerate conversations. Uh, with me is Leigh Hunt. Leigh has been with me before, and tonight it's just going to be a very informal thing coming you tonight for the first time, I believe it is, from my RV, parked in our new place out in the middle of the jungle in Kentucky. So, with that being said, let's do that video. Discussion and debate. Atheism, evolution. Bible study, prophecy, and doctrine. Social issues and everything Christian. These are hot topics with your host Eric, aka Wolf Bitten. Welcome. And hello, Bill. It's good to see you, brother. Glad you popped in today. And now we may have a little bit of a technical difficulty today with Leigh. I believe he's having a little bit of problem with his audio, but we've been checking it off and on, and it's been doing better. So, Leigh, are you still with me?
I'm here. How's my audio?
Your audio is fine now. Good. And it's just going to be a little bit of a formal discussion tonight, folks. But I want to thank everybody for joining in. And Leigh has been on before, and we had a really, really good discussion. And so I'm very glad to have you back again. Leigh, tell everybody a little bit about you, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I live in Colorado. I'm 48 years old. I grew up in Southern California. Been a businessman since I studied biology in school. Never went into biology, found my job in business before I finished that. Now I'm a security guard because it's easy.
That's an interesting job. That can be an interesting job. It can afford a lot of spare time too to do other things and enjoy other pursuits.
Yeah.
So, if I understand you correctly, I don't want to misrepresent you, but I believe you said that at one time you came from a Christian family. Is that true?
Yeah, that's how I was raised. My mom still is a Christian. My father passed away as a Christian. My grandparents, my aunts, my uncles. I'm like the only one that's not.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking a really personal question, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. But why did you ever become an atheist?
Well, it's okay. So it's not like I had a reason, right? It's like something that happened to me.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just doubted things, and as time went on, as I got older, I was able to rationalize being a Christian, believing the things, making them more and more allegorical, symbolic. So ultimately, one day, I think I was about 19 years old. Well, I was probably 19 when I realized I was an atheist. I was probably about 16 or 17 when I realized I wasn't a Christian. But it happened before I realized it. Right? I was not believing for like a year or two before I realized I didn't believe it anymore.
I can understand that. Did you ever have a moment in your life where you had an experience with God that just uh, just made you know that He was there, or was that something that you
Yeah,
never had?
I had that kind of like that moment where it was like where it was tactile, where it was like actually in my body, and I felt Jesus coming into me, and it was outside of a thing called Young Life. Do you know what Young Life is?
No.
All right, when I was like in middle school, there were these like little Christian groups I would go to. And it was like from the YMCA, and one of them was called Young Life. And I was very inspired by what the leaders had been talking about that night. And I was just sitting in my buddy's van all by myself, and I really had that moment where I felt like that God came through the roof of the van, and I had my experience.
Yes. Well, what what would you say? What would you say actually led you to disbelief? Was there any particular moment or event in your life that?
It just fell away in pieces. It's really I can't pin it down.
Okay,
You
that's
know,
fair.
I'm just when I told you the ages that happened, I'm really estimating that. And I got really into Bible study, and I think that kind of helped accelerate it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have you ever taken the time to weigh out um, why things are in such a way as you're actually comparing what you would believe as an atheist versus what you would believe as someone who believed in God? For instance, forgive me if that's an awkward way of asking this, but what I mean to say is, have you ever asked yourself questions like, why is there anything? Not
Yes.
not just life, but why does anything
Okay. So
exist?
with this, I've got these questions. They're like philosophical questions that have always bugged me. Like, why am I me? Right? Like, why am I not a grasshopper? But if
Yes,
I was a grasshopper, I wouldn't have the type of brain that could think about why I'm me. Why am I anything? Why is there anything? Right? All these questions. And even when I believed in God, even when I was a Christian, the questions were still there because it was like, okay, God's behind it, but how did God do it? Why did God do it? So like I didn't have answers to those philosophical questions even then. But I just, I was like, okay, well, God knows, but I don't. Well, now it's like I don't think there's a God that knows, and I don't.
but you still haven't found any answers. Is that?
No, and I don't think I would have found those answers as a Christian or any type of theist either, because it would be like God knows that, but I don't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's fair enough. Have you ever thought about how did things come about as an atheist, from an atheist point
Yeah,
of
I
view?
mean, often, right? And like philosophically, religiously, cosmologically, like I love that question. And I
Yeah,
like I'm also like I'm really satisfied with just giving the honest answer of like how little I know. Like
yeah.
I know almost nothing about that, and I don't want to make false speculation. I want to keep it open. A new article comes out, I love to read it. I want to learn. I really want to learn a new thing,
Yeah,
but I also want to acknowledge that I am so ignorant in that, and I think humanity is.
yeah,
I think that there's a point. I mean, if you want to get technical, you can go back to the end of the Planck era, just 10 to the negative 43 seconds after the extrapolated expansion of the singularity, and all physics breaks down. In order to understand that, we'd have to invent a new physics. We don't even know if there is a new physics to invent. It's just like, heck, we've hit a wall.
yeah,
Will we
yeah.
break through the wall? I have hope. Humans break through. We've said lots of things are impossible. Oh, we'll never know this. Oh, there's that story of the guy that quit the French patent office because he thought everything had been invented, and that was like in 1900. You know, humans always surprise us, but I'm happy to say, like, okay, wherever you are in time, you're at the height, the pinnacle of human knowledge right now.
Yes.
But 10 minutes from now, we're going to know more because someone will discover something somewhere. So, people 500 years from now will think of me as primitive, but I think of people from 500 years ago as kind of primitive. So, it's fair.
I've heard of atheists, Lee, that, and this might sound weird. It kind of strikes me as weird, but to each his own. I can't judge, these things. I have run across atheists, though, that say that they believe that there is some kind of life after death. Have you ever considered what do you think about something like that?
Okay, well, first of all, I do know, like, I agree with you. There are atheists, like a significant number, especially in Eastern religions, that believe there's life after death. They don't believe in a God, but they believe in a life after death. So that's a thing. I don't, because I think when brain activity ceases, that's the end. I am my functioning brain. That's what I believe. And the evidence is, like, if you squish someone's head, they stop talking.
Right. What do you? How about consciousness? Where would you, as an atheist? I have an interesting concept that I like to think about. I think of a science called biogenesis. And
Right.
biogenesis, I think you and I have discussed it a little bit before. Biogenesis postulates that only like things can bring forth like things. Life never comes from non-life; it always comes from
Right.
life. Like, for
Right.
instance, bacteria only comes from bacteria.
Right. I'd
Pigeons,
like to address
pigeons.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Pasteur did an experiment disproving spontaneous generation, right? Because people thought flies just came from nowhere, uh, or the maggots came from nowhere. He put rotten meat over, in a jar, and he put netting over it, and the flies couldn't lay eggs. No maggots. Kind of whatever. Good experiment.
Right.
But that's a different thing than abiogenesis, right? Because abiogenesis, a lot happens before there's even life, and then there's a lot happening in the threshold between what we define as life, and then we're still arguing. Like, I could talk to one of my biology professors today, and we could still argue over the definition of life. Like, a prion is not alive, but I could find you well-educated people that will argue that a prion is alive. Now, I'll disagree with them. A virus is not alive, but I can find people that will argue that a virus is alive. I disagree with them too, but I feel that definitions can be kind of arbitrary, so I'm not going to put too much passion into that argument.
Hmm. Yeah. There are people that would argue it both ways. That's very true. And the argument about what is life, that's a valid argument.
Yeah, so, okay, think about when you name something, it's like we had to come up with a drinking age. We came up with 21, right? So
Right.
first of all, we decided we should probably round it. We should probably round it to an even year, not 20 and 3/8, just for convenience. Then we had to pick one. Like, we had to make a law. We had to pick one. But I think we can all agree it's kind of arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
Like, anyone could make an argument for 20 or 19 or 22 or whatever. And it's the same thing with, like, where is it defined as life? When is it a new species? Like, two different species can be interfertile. Well, we kind of draw the line. It's like, okay, but when it becomes so unlikely they're interfertile, now they're two separate species. Okay, but you and I could choose two different fractions, and we both be just arbitrarily choosing, and at some point we just have to agree to disagree.
Hmm. Yeah. What do you think consciousness is?
So think of baby steps to consciousness, like the first thing that began the road to consciousness might have been a light sensitive cell, and then there was a neuron that was attached to, like, some type of constricting cell, and then and then when the light sensitive cell was activated, the organism, we're talking like maybe a simple single cell or just a few cell organism, right? It just started moving, randomly moving, and then once it was in darkness, it stopped moving, right? Or vice versa, and it didn't even know what it was doing. It didn't have consciousness, but it survived better because it was now under a rock, and the predator didn't get it, right? And then so you just start piecing those things together.
Yeah. Well, I when it comes to biogenesis, I think it does have some very valuable things to teach us. What do you think of this thought, for instance?
Of what?
What do you think of this particular thought, for instance? Um, Give me a moment to figure out how to frame this. Okay, but let's say what we actually observe. Uh, I'm big on observation, and I think you would agree with me that science itself has to be based on observation. Uh,
Sure.
Otherwise, there is no science.
Not exclusively visible, but observation using the senses in some way, some input.
Correct, correct.
Agreed.
Like we begin with an observation, and then we take that observation and we develop some sort of a hypothesis dealing with that observation. And then we try to test whether or not our hypothesis is good or bad, if it holds water, if it doesn't. We
Good so
try to,
far. Yes, I endorse the scientific method.
yeah, put it through falsification procedures and legitimately try to prove it wrong so that we know that if it stands up or not. So when I look at what life teaches us, like life teaches us, for instance, that things only do bring forth like things. For instance, we touched on this a moment ago. Bacteria brings forth bacteria. Pigeons bring forth bacteria.
Yeah,
Now, I
we
agree
might
with.
not disagree on phylogeny, right? Because bacteria is its own kingdom, and there will never be any animalia that comes out of bacteria.
Yeah,
There might be something animalian like, but it will not be an animal.
yeah. Well, then when we have, even when uh, we begin talking about the animal kingdom itself,
Yeah.
we have pigeons, cats, dogs, humans, and everything. I think that we can observe does bring forth its own kind. Now, well, I think where some people develop a disagreement, like for instance, we have the word speciation. Speciation simply means that you have a portion of a population that breaks off because it's no longer able to procreate with its parent population.
Right. So if they were returned to be together, they would not reintegrate.
Right. So, but now I think where we differ, where you and I would differ, is what happens after that point of speciation. Now, what I note is that observation tells me that it doesn't continue evolving into like another animal group, but many times that population or the parent population or the daughter population simply eventually goes extinct. Um, Sometimes they coexist, sometimes they don't. But evolution, on the other hand, the theory of evolution says that speciation leads us to the evolution of an animal group into another group of animals. And
Yeah.
that's where they come up with the idea of every fossil is transitional.
Could I address that?
Sure.
Okay. So one thing is, remember they taught you like kingdom, phylum, or order, class, genus, species, all that.
Right.
All right. Now we just use clade because there's way too many of them. Do you know they don't really line up? Like I could be at the class level in one type of organism, and I could be at the class level another type of organism, and they're not necessarily class distance apart. Same with phylum, right? It's just we had to have a way to organize it to communicate with each other. So it's kind of arbitrary there. But if talking about different kind of animal, it's just more different, right? So if you take, it doesn't matter if you go with family or any other group level, but just like there was the feliformes in mammalia, right? And we did get cats, but we also got civets from that, and there was carnivora, which they come from, and we did get bears and raccoons, so it's like, how different is a bear from a raccoon? Well, it's just as different as it's had enough time to be apart from that group, that group, that group, that group, that group. And then we can see like phenotypical changes that are really severe in things that are like very closely related, especially like in size and color. Those things can change really fast, not that many generations, right? But then we see things that don't change very much unless they really need to, like teeth or ear bones, and so like it's really pretty easy to track, and it was done pretty accurately before we even had genetics. And then the genetics basically proved 95% of it and corrected the other 5%. Because with genetics, we found out we were wrong about a lot of things, but it was amazing how right we were about so many things with just comparative morphology.
Yeah. I think that's I understand the morphology thing. That's something that, like you said, the phylogenetic trees are built basically strictly by morphology, where you have one group developing into another group on these hypothetical trees. We have the Archaeopteryx as a good example. You could follow the Archaeopteryx back and
Right.
to the theropod dinosaur, and then forward to the modern bird.
Yeah, so I don't see the Archaeopteryx as any more, the talk of transitional forms. So I don't see it as any more transitional than I am or any other critter along the path. It's like we created these classifications later on, bird, dinosaur, right?
Exactly. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
But in the end, it was never a different thing. It was just there was a group of smaller theropods that survived the mass extinction, and they already looked like birds. They
Yeah.
I mean, they were birds. I mean,
Well,
someone arbitrarily is going to put the signpost where they became a bird.
yeah.
I mean, it's just a line.
As a matter of fact, we do have some modern birds that existed about the same time as Archaeopteryx, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, if you found one that was in that kind of primitive, not quite a bird stage, it'd be pretty unlikely you'd find the one that was like the most developed towards birdism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there were probably like 800 species that were way more bird-like already, but this is the one we found. And so, and it's, it's hard to get a fossil. We should understand it's, a lot of special things have to happen before we even get a fossil. So we should expect to not find a vast majority of the species that ever lived.
Mm-hmm. One thing that interests me is I'm fascinated by the alleged evolution of the whale. It goes from literally, we're told that it began as a ocean dwelling animal, then it became something like an amphibian, and then it became a land mammal, and then it developed back into a water mammal.
Yeah, I mean,
marine mammal.
I kind of want to be a stickler on words when you say it became, right? So it didn't exist yet, right? And the things it came from, like the early Sargopterygii, lobed-fin fishes. Like,
Yeah.
so all tetrapods came from that. So that's us. That's you and me with 2 arms and 2 legs. That's
You would agree that's alleged. That's alleged, though,
well,
right?
this is my perspective, right? So
Right.
a lizard, a bird, a bat, and you get stuck with the body plan because evolution can't suddenly make working arms, right? Or
Yeah.
other, or else bats wouldn't have to have just wings. Bats would have 2 nice working arms and wings.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be nice for bats if they had arms and wings? Same with birds. Would it be nice if they had arms and wings? But the body plan was kind of set. Now, can we get things with 6 legs? Of course, insects. But arthropods, they branched off a long time before. And when you get so far down the line into something like tetrapods, you're not suddenly getting a new set of working limbs.
Yeah.
Right? So that would explain bats and birds not having arms.
You know the problem that I have with this, and
Yeah.
I'll just be frank about it. I mean, I don't have a problem with somebody that wants to hypothesize these things. I really don't. If somebody wants to present that hypothesis and sell out on it, so they're sold on it completely. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But then I think about the next step in science, which comes to falsification of a hypothesis. And then that brings us to, like, for instance, we could use the whale or the Archaeopteryx or anything like that. Like, for instance, is the Pakicetus really related to a whale? Did the Pakicetus somehow eventually keep evolving until it became a marine mammal and developed eventually into a whale? Now, first of all, we've got that has to happen in something like 15 or 16 million years, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's an awfully short period of time to go from a dog-sized land mammal to a whale-sized marine mammal. Number one. And number two, if we want to hold that hypothesis, how do we go about testing it? And
okay, so I think we're going back more than 70 million years. If we're going to go to like Basilosaurus and things like that. And I mean, okay, it's not okay. So you're talking about make the hypothesis and then test it. It kind of happened backwards, right? Because we didn't know anything about it. People found these fossils, and then it told them the story, and then they're like, huh, okay. They're just following the story. They've got a bunch of skulls. They've got the skull where the nostrils is at the tip of the snout, then halfway up the rostrum, and then finally it's on top of the head. And they have the whole progression. They have the fossils with the rear limbs, getting smaller and smaller with the different species, and finally being being used only for mating, and then finally just being internal, and not being of any use at all. So it's like, this isn't the kind of thing where someone hypothesized it and went out and tested it. This is like the story kind of forced itself upon the people that study these things.
Well, I kind of think that's backwards, Lee, and I'm going to explain why. Let's consider okay, I remember many, many years ago, say 20, 30, 35 years ago, I was having a conversation with another group of atheists, and I asked them about the ancestor to the dogs and the wolves. And they said, well, it's the dire wolf, of course. The morphology. Yeah. The morphology tells us it would have to be the dire wolf. So,
I think it's a European brown wolf is the one that's supposed to be the domesticated dogs, but definitely not. I think the dire wolf was like a North American wolf, and that's not where it happened.
Well, actually,
but then again, they think Samoyeds happened in a different place.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that, though. Uh, I can pull up if you Google uh, dire wolves are not wolves. It will bring you to a science article. I believe it's by New Scientist. And in this article, they will say that we've actually recovered the DNA of the dire wolf, and it's not related to dogs or wolves at all. Period.
Okay, well, I'm pretty skeptical, but I wouldn't be like super surprised. And
Yeah.
actually, I love those things. I love learning we've been wrong about something for decades, and like it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in biology is learning I've been wrong all this time.
Yeah.
That's
That's
exciting as hell. Yeah.
I. I've probably got that article up
Exciting as
here in
hell.
my. I know I've got it up here somewhere, but at any rate, if anybody wants to Google that, you can Google it, and
I
I can
will after we're done talking.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, there's another example I can bring up too. For well, first of all, let me say hi to Janet. Hi, Janet. God bless you. How you doing? And let me just say another example I can think of off the top of my head was the changes that Neanderthal has gone through. For instance, Neanderthal was discovered in the 1800s, and at first, Neanderthal was considered to be something of a missing link, an ancestor, a transitional fossil between mankind and apes somehow.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think you're right.
yeah, and then they went through some changes and development in the theory, and he all of a sudden became a cousin.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I understand it, it was a contemporary species with our lineage,
Yeah,
and
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 now
it's
they
interwoven in our lineage. Like
now
you and I are Neanderthal a little bit.
yeah now they still say that it is it's a cousin to Homo sapiens, and it's in its own classification. Its species is Homo neanderthalis, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
So now the interesting thing about this, okay, now you know the biological definition of species, right? I mean,
right. And let's talk about it being violated because Neanderthal and modern human did it, and I'll talk to you about the Wolfen doing it.
yeah. So, I mean, that's a definition we've had for since before evolution. It's
We
been
should
around.
not settle. Like I still argue with people about that. We
Yeah,
should we should always be willing to redefine species.
yeah. Well, you know, if we're redefining species in order to justify the theory of evolution, though,
No. We should never do that. We should not
there you go.
redefine it in order to justify anything. We should
There.
read. We should redefine it to make it useful and accurate.
Okay.
And
Well,
and it shouldn't matter how it affects any other thing like the theory of evolution.
yeah, I don't disagree with that. But species is pretty clearly defined.
But it's not because like Homo neanderthalis and us, Homo sapiens sapien, we're interfertile, right?
yeah. Well,
And so,
yeah,
and so is the common Atlantic dolphin and the false killer whale.
yeah. Well, you see, here's the cool
So
thing
is
about this.
like there's a list of weird hybrids out there that happen in nature and
Well,
that have happened in captivity.
here's
And,
the
and they
here's the
always test our definition of species.
here's the cool thing about this. Um, 300 years ago, when they were figuring out uh, kingdom, phylum, family, genus, species, and all this, they worked it down to this. What is a species? A species is simply a group of like animals that are capable of interbreeding and producing fertile offspring.
That's a
Very,
good definition.
yeah, that's
However, it gets stretched, right? Because what about those species that can do that once in every 100,000 attempts?
well, still,
But
um,
you understand, like if the groups are far enough apart, long enough, it'll become they can only interbreed 1 in 10 times, then 1 in 100 times, then 1 in 1,000 times, then 1 in 1,000,000 times, right? So at some point you got to draw the line and say it doesn't happen often enough. to call
Well,
them infertile.
but would we do that with somebody who's um, uh, like, what is it, like A negative or O negative? Uh,
Well, I mean that's blood type, right? They still have infertility regardless of blood type.
well, that's not quite right. For instance, somebody that is O negative and A negative. Oh, what do you call that again? Anyway, they don't have that one element in their blood. The
Yeah, I forget too, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. Well, you see, they have a problem interbreeding with people who are positive, O
What is it?
positive, A positive.
The baby has a problem getting nutrients from the mom through the placenta, kind of thing.
Well, they have problems interbreeding with somebody,
Like,
unless they too are negative, like O negative or A negative.
okay, well, I didn't know about that, but that doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with that is, if we try to draw a line and say, okay, well, uh, at what point do they stop becoming? Are they no longer human beings? Or at what
Well,
point are they no
but
longer
see, that
Homo
doesn't
sapiens?
matter because they're part of the group that interbreeds successfully all the time.
Well,
So we can
that's
have
what I'm
human individuals that can't interbreed, lots of them. And
that's what I'm
as long as there's a significant amount that can, we're all the same species.
that's why I'm saying that it's a good definition. Uh,
Yeah.
our current definition of species is a good one.
Okay. So then,
So now,
yeah.
if we just follow my thought for just a second here, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
If we take that current definition and we apply it to Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo sapiens, what we find out is that Neanderthal is intentionally misclassified.
I don't think intentionally.
Of course, it would be
I
intentional
think
because
okay.
we now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we have interbred with Neanderthal.
Right. We know that, but I don't think it was intentionally misclassified. I think the people just didn't know better.
Well, we
And
know better now.
so, like, have you ever heard about? So we have all these hominids that lived at different times, right? But there are two really famous hoaxes that young Earth creationists often bring up. One would be Nebraska Man, which was a pig's tooth. You know about that one?
Right.
And the other one is Peking Man, which was like it was like someone put together I think it was like monkey bones or something with like they kind of jigsaw puzzled a skeleton together or something. I forget. But so like people will talk about that and they'll say, well, this is why we can't trust it. And it's like, no, actually, when the real paleontologists saw that, they're the ones that tore it apart. It was actually science. It was some magazine and some guy trying to make money that ran with it for a while. And once some real paleontologists got a hold of those things, that's when we found out they were hoaxes. It was the people that understand evolution that found these hoaxes, and yet the people that don't believe evolution they love these hoaxes. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also the people that believe in evolution that now know that we are, by definition, the same species with Neanderthal and Denisovans, Homo sapiens,
I
and
don't
yet
think it really matters.
they're not changing it.
Yeah, someone might call it a subspecies, or maybe we're not even maybe we are just the same species. But once again, I feel that's arbitrary, and also it's premature to say because we don't have enough genetics in their population to even estimate how successfully we could interbreed, how often.
Well, we know that we did.
We know that we did.
Yeah. So
for sure.
By definition, Neanderthal,
we did not reclassify common dolphins to be the same species as false killer whales, even though they successfully.
Now, why didn't we? You know why I believe? I'll tell you.
My marine biology professor got called away to the marine park, right?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe that they're correcting these things, because as they are separated now, they give an illusion of evolution where there is no evolution. But by correcting these things, saying, look, well, DNA teaches us different now. We did interbreed.
That's very.
We did produce
It's
fertilizer.
very foreign for me. It's like we're arguing about like what Babe Ruth's baseball, his average was in 1923.
Hold on, hear me out. Hear me out.
Someone's saying there's no baseball. Like
no, hear me out for just a second.
Right.
Hear me out. Hear me out for just a second, Leigh. Here's the thing. The way I honestly see it, if the educators now and scientists that hold to evolution, if they began correcting all these things in our charts, in our phylogenetic charts, that we know now are related, we know
they do.
Listed as the same species.
They can't begin correcting things because that's all they do. They've been correcting things for a long time now.
No, they're not correcting it. They're Homo sapiens are still listed just different from Neanderthals.
Really,
coyotes
corrected it. How did you learn about it?
What?
If no one's corrected it, how have you learned about it?
Well, what species is Neanderthal listed as? It's not a Homo sapien.
Right, but you don't have a genetics lab, right? I don't have a genetics lab. Like, I kind of have to go by what I read.
Well, what we do have is the genetics have already been tested and done. We do know that we interbred and produce fertile offspring.
Right. So, I've agreed on that like 18 times.
Right. So we do know that by definition we're the same species. Now I could go further.
Maybe not. I'll just let that go. Okay, we're the same species.
I could go further. Dogs and coyotes and wolves. Okay. Coyotes are listed as a different species.
Right.
And yet we have coy dogs. We have coy wolves.
So you're not saying anything I disagree with, and I don't see how this applies to like trying to shoot down evolution, because I mean it's through evolution that we determined that these species names are difficult.
Well, here's
names are difficult because of evolution and what we've learned.
Here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put it in a nutshell to try to tie it all together, what I'm saying is we've got all of these hypotheses about how one animal group gave rise to another animal group eventually, but we don't have any DNA proving that they are in fact related. We don't have any way to test.
Compare the DNA.
Well, here's the point.
We can actually figure out when they split.
Hold on a second. Yeah. I don't think you're following me, Leigh.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if we're going to say, well, first of all, every time that we get the DNA of one of these alleged transitional fossils, it gets proven wrong. Like the direwolf, for instance.
I disagree with it. Well, every time it's proven. In fact, it's amazing how often it's right.
I dare you, I challenge you to bring me one tested and proven transitional fossil.
That would be every fossil that ever existed.
No. I'm not talking about a claim. I'm talking about tested, gone through a falsification process and proven.
Hold on. What would make it transitional in your opinion? Because in my opinion, they're all transitional.
No. You see, there's the claim that it's a transition.
Okay, forget my claim.
Now, at that point,
tell me what you think would make it transitional, so I can know what to look for to bring you.
Okay, let me hear me out for a second here.
Yeah,
I'm going to use examples that we have in front of us. Okay, we have Archaeopteryx, we have modern birds, and we have theropod dinosaurs.
Okay.
Now the hypothesis is that theropod dinosaurs gave way to Archaeopteryx, and Archaeopteryx gave way to modern birds.
Okay, hold on.
Now hold on.
Archaeopteryx is probably a dead end.
Hold on.
The direct lineage.
Hold on.
Yeah.
They still say that Archaeopteryx evolved from the theropod dinosaur.
It's definitely a theropod.
Okay, now, definitely, no, that's your hypothesis. That's your claim. Now, you have to test that hypothesis.
Well, that's what other people do for a living.
But hold on.
Yeah.
Now show me the DNA of the Archaeopteryx and the theropod dinosaur that proves they are related. That proves that the Archaeopteryx
Do you
was.
know how hard it is to find DNA that old?
Well, now you're catching on. In other words, your hypothesis is untestable.
No, it's
It's
just that
unfalsifiable.
no one would put forth the DNA as their evidence unless they found that DNA.
Well,
It would be amazing.
it's not the evidence; it's the test. You see,
Right.
Dr. Colin Patterson, he was the senior paleontologist for
Yeah.
the British Museum of Natural History. He was a staunch evolutionist. Okay,
Yeah.
he was not a creationist. As far as I'm concerned, he was an atheist, and he lectured on evolution, toured the world, gave all kinds of talks wrote books on evolution. And he was asked why he never talked about transitional fossils. He didn't include pictures of them in his books. He didn't talk about them. He said, look, it's easy enough to come up with stories about how one life form gave rise to another, but these things aren't scientific. This isn't even part of science because there's no way to put it to the test. In other words, there's no way to falsify it. Now, what is the process of falsification? The process.
I don't really get this because I don't know what you mean by a transitional fossil.
The same thing you mean by transitional fossil.
Well, when obviously it's not, because I think everything that
No.
dies is fossilized is a transitional fossil.
Well, you see, here's what you're missing.
Okay.
The falsification process. What you have is a claim.
Right. I understand falsification of claims.
Okay, now, let's talk about this process, the scientific process. You dig up a fossil, and you say, okay, this is a theropod dinosaur. Okay, then you dig up another fossil.
And hold on, that would be done by morphology.
Hold on.
Probably the hip bone.
Hold on, hear me out.
Yeah.
Then you dig up another fossil and you say, okay, we're going to call this Archaeopteryx. But look, this thing has some of the same features that theropod dinosaur has. So obviously,
well, it wouldn't just be some of the same features.
It evolved.
You have to have all these condyles and processes on near the joints.
Now,
very complex shapes and forms that are
hold on, hear me out.
Astronomical if they have the same shape.
Hear me out, Lee.
Yeah.
Just like the dire wolf proves not to be the common ancestor between wolves and dogs and etc. It's not an ancestor of the wolf.
I never thought it was, but I don't see the significance.
Oh, but millions of people thought it was, and it was claimed for a long time. Until we got the DNA.
Millions of people. I can only speak for myself.
Well, I'm just saying that was the claim. Okay.
You understand people get things wrong, right?
Exactly. Now you're catching on. Okay, so now you have the claim.
Eric, before I started talking to you, I was well aware that people get things wrong.
Okay, well, you have the claim now that the theropod dinosaur is ancestor to the Archaeopteryx. Okay.
Right.
Okay, now it's fine if you want to hold that hypothesis. But there's only what is falsification process?
The falsification you would get the bones, and if you've got enough of them, you can make the claim. If you don't have enough of them, you shouldn't make the claim.
Well, you can claim whatever you like anytime you like.
I'm talking about what you should and shouldn't.
Okay, but what is the falsification? What's
a fair claim to make? What's a claim you should have confidence in that's fairly justified, right?
But what is a falsification process? It's part of the scientific method, right?
Correct.
Okay, and what is it?
It depends on the test. You create a test for every hypothesis, right?
In short, a falsification.
In the paper, you write how you designed the test.
Let me simplify this.
Okay.
In short, a falsification process is a process by which You try to intentionally prove that your hypothesis is wrong.
Right. You find what could prove it wrong. Let's look for that.
Okay, exactly. Now, you hypothesize that the archaeopteryx evolved from the theropod dinosaur. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. But now it's time for the falsification
So to
process.
falsify it, you would say, okay, like if it doesn't have this one process that is ubiquitous throughout all theropod fossils, we understand that even when it's become useless, it persists. So there's this one bump on this one spot on the femur that's always there, and it's shaped a little bit like a chevron. And if we find that's not there, it's probably not a theropod. And we've got like 20 of those, right?
You see, you're just assuming more. That doesn't have anything to do with relative. For instance,
that is comparative morphology. That's how you do comparative morphology.
For instance, there is a huge difference between a Chihuahua and a wolf. And
right,
yet,
but their skulls are going to have certain structures inside of them.
Well, Lee, hold on. Let me finish this thought here. Okay. No, that's not a falsification process. That does not have That does not have the potential to prove that the Archaeopteryx is not related to the theropod dinosaur.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean they can have differences that just would not be like evolution couldn't do this.
What?
Evolution couldn't make this difference in this amount of time. No way.
Well, there's only one way that you can prove whether or not something is or is not related. Only one way. Okay, for instance, if you go to court, okay, let's say a girl takes you to court.
Are you going to say DNA?
Let's say the girl takes you to court.
Okay, but like I talked about before, yeah, DNA is better, but we got a lot of things right before we had DNA.
DNA is the only way that you can test a lineage and tell for sure.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. This is related.
We did really well before we had DNA.
What? You couldn't test a lineage then?
You could test it.
No, you couldn't.
DNA.
No, you couldn't.
So yeah, you could. So let's say you had, we had things that are like organized at a class level.
Let me ask you something.
Compare them, right?
If
these are definitely the same family.
Let's say a girl takes you to court.
Species.
Let's say a girl takes you to court, and she says, "Look, here's a picture of my baby, and here's a picture of Lee.
Yeah.
See how much they look alike? He's my baby's father.
Right.
I want child support."
You're going to say the visual evidence is not nearly as good as the DNA, and I'm going to agree with you.
Well, no, the point is,
okay,
the judge, if she doesn't have the DNA, or if the DNA proves that you're not the father, the judge is going to laugh her out of court.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that the DNA was the only way they could tell, beyond any shadow of any doubt, that you were that baby's father or not. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
but you're talking about two individuals within a species.
It doesn't really matter.
You're talking about morphology of things at like a class or family level. Then it's like, wow, we don't need the DNA. Like, I don't need the DNA to prove you're human. I can look at you and go, that's a human. They
could have said that about the dire wolf.
Do you think the court needs DNA to prove that I'm a human?
They said that we don't need the DNA to prove that that's a wolf. It's obviously the ancestor to the wolf.
Okay, well you're kind of conflating.
You know
individuals.
You want to know something interesting?
Okay.
They don't have any idea what it's related to. It's related to nothing. The dire wolf, and yet they swore.
I'm going to look up the dire wolf as soon as we get done. This sounds very interesting.
Yet they swore that it was related to the dog and the wolf.
I never thought much of it except for it was just a big wolf, which is kind of cool already. So I did some reading on it.
Well, in the same way, okay. Unless you have the DNA of something, you can't tell whether or not it's related. For instance,
that's not true.
Well, of course it is. They didn't know that we were related to the Neanderthal and the Denisovan, or in what aspect
Of
we were.
course we are.
Well, we know that now that we have the DNA.
But we knew they were human before we had the DNA.
No, they didn't say it was human.
We knew
Do
for
you know how
sure they were genus Homo. We knew they were genus Homo for sure before DNA.
Do you know how many changes that went through?
And you're talking about species now.
Do you know how many?
Definitely genus Homo.
Do you know? Well, what I'm saying is,
they were definitely tribe hominini.
First of all, I don't think you realize how many changes Neanderthal went through before they decided it was the cousin.
Homo erectus?
Hold on. What?
You know, genus Homo includes Homo erectus, right?
Okay, show me the DNA of the Homo erectus.
There is no DNA of Homo erectus.
There is no DNA of Homo erectus.
We would love to have DNA of Homo erectus. That would solve a lot of questions that we have.
So, you see, the point is, here's what I'm saying. You, as an evolutionist, you present all these claims, right, and then you try to justify the fact that you can't falsify them.
Hold on a second. You're putting claims on me that I'm not. Did you know that we don't know that we're a direct ancestor of Homo erectus or not? Did you know we don't know that?
Well, I know that there's enough people that claim we are.
Okay, there is a weak. Hold on. There is a weak claim to be made, just from morphology. But we also know that there was a diversity of hominids around at that time, and I am of the belief that could have been a total dead end, and our direct ancestor that was living contemporary to Homo erectus may have not been found yet. Right? Yep. So for me to be correct, I don't need Homo erectus to be our direct ancestor. I'm not staking it. There's nothing at stake on that. Like I don't win or lose anything whether Homo erectus is our direct ancestor or not.
To be correct about any association, though. For instance, if we're going to say the Pakicetus is related to the whale, we need that Pakicetus's DNA.
Okay? No, we don't. We don't, because whale is huge, and it's probably more close.
There's no other way at all to prove yes or no.
We can show a direct lineage into Odontoceti right now.
You can't.
Yes, we can.
All you can do is show me that you think this is related to that, and you think this is related to that, and you think this is related to that.
We have. It's like you're looking at a picture of a tree, and there's the trunk, and there's a branch, and there's a gap in the branch, and there's a gap in the branch, and there's all these branches. And it's like obviously a picture of a tree with missing strokes, and you're saying that's not a tree.
No,
it's a tree, and we're not even saying that they're on the same branch. We're just saying they're definitely branches on the same tree.
No, you can hypothesize that they're the same branches. Okay,
they may or may not be the same branch, but we know they're branches on the same tree.
You don't know they are on the same tree.
We know about how far those limbs came to a crotch.
You don't know. There's a difference, Lee. You're claiming to know something that you can't possibly know.
Yes, we know. We do know things.
How do you know that the theropod dinosaur is related to the Archaeopteryx?
Okay, now think about working backwards to forwards, right? So we don't know that any modern bird is the same.
I'm just asking, how do you know those two are related?
If you don't let me give you my answer, I can't.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so think about working backwards to forwards, right? So we don't know that any modern bird is descended from Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx, and I believe this, that the probability is Archaeopteryx was a dead end, like 99% of all critters were. And
how do you know it wasn't a bird?
It may not have ever been something we classify as a bird, but that's almost arbitrary.
How do you know that it wasn't? A lot of people say it was.
I don't know. I'm just saying that there's so many chances for it not to be.
But if you had its DNA, you would know whether or not it is a bird.
Oh yeah, I'd love to have it. If we had its DNA, we'd know that, right?
There you go.
Yeah, but
hello, Tommy.
But we don't. So we don't know that. So you gotta let me finish, man, because I have to start over now. Okay, so you work from back to front. We know that Archaeopteryx comes from theropods from comparative morphology. right?
You don't know that. You hypothesize it.
You say a bunch of things I disagree with when you're talking, and I don't interrupt you. If I interrupted you every time you said something I disagree with, I'd never let you finish the sentence.
You can finish. I'm just making a major correction here because to say you know something.
You just constantly say things like evolution didn't happen, and it's like, yeah, I just don't interrupt you because I know you believe.
When did I say evolution didn't happen? I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, maybe you didn't say those exact words, but I really wish you asked me to explain something, and then you won't let me finish explaining it.
Look, there's a difference between thinking that something may have happened. Hypothesizing this.
I don't need lectures on the scientific method, man. Can you acknowledge that we both understand the scientific method and why we should claim things and what evidence is acceptable and all that? Like, can we agree we both know
I'm just asking you, don't you agree that there's a difference between believing something may have happened and knowing that it happened?
There's absolutely a difference. That's why I'm very careful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's why I'm very careful to parse my words in a way that clarifies the level of confidence I have in any particular claim, right? And so we know that Archaeopteryx is a theropod. What we don't know is what descended from it.
How do you know Archaeopteryx is a theropod?
First of all, theropod is a very large group, right?
Theropod is a dinosaur.
Well, it's a very large group. All birds are theropoda.
A theropod is a... No, hold on. Okay, now
there's a lot of
then we need to make another extinction here. Okay,
there are lots of lines that came out of theropoda.
Okay, if you just want to call a bird a theropod and you want to call certain dinosaurs a theropod, then let me make this distinction.
Okay,
that's fine, but you cannot say that you know that theropod birds are related to theropod dinosaurs. Because to know that, to know that they are related to theropod dinosaurs, you would need the DNA.
Dinosauria is an earlier clade, and they're all within Dinosauria too.
Okay, well
we got Theropoda, and Theropoda went forward with lots of lineages. One of them led to Archaeopteryx. We don't know if any lineages came out of Archaeopteryx. I don't think any of those would have been modern birds.
Well, here's our misunderstanding then, okay? Here's where we're conflicting. I hear people saying all the time and making the claim that the Archaeopteryx descended from the theropod dinosaur. Now you're saying something totally different.
No, I'm not.
Okay, we just agreed.
It's a theropod.
What?
Archaeopteryx is a theropod.
Okay, but are you saying that Archaeopteryx is descended from the theropod dinosaur?
That's the only way it could be a theropod. Yes, it's descended from.
Now, no.
All theropods.
Now you need to falsify that.
Okay, and I told you how that's been done by comparative morphology.
No, it's comparative. No. It's comparative morphology that leads you to believe and hypothesize that the Archaeopteryx is related to the theropod dinosaur.
Okay, and you put so much DNA, right? Has confirmed comparative.
Hold on, am I wrong?
About what?
What is the reason? Isn't the comparative morphology the reason you hypothesize that the theropod dinosaur?
So when you're getting back at something like when you're talking about the species level.
No, let me ask you a straight question.
I'm trying to answer your question.
Let me know
before you ask me another one.
Isn't the reason that you are hypothesizing that the Archaeopteryx descended?
I'm not hypothesizing.
Hold on, you're not letting me ask my question.
Okay, but
isn't the reason that you hypothesize that the theropod dinosaur was ancestor to the Archaeopteryx? Isn't that based completely on the morphology?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So in other words,
thank you, like
hold on.
You did not make any point.
Hold on, you got to hear me out now.
Yeah.
is now because you just admitted that
Don't say
you're.
admitted. That's weighted.
Well, hold on.
I
You
confirmed that which was already known.
okay? What you confirmed was that because of the comparative morphology, you hypothesize that the two are related. Okay.
No, I didn't hypothesize.
Well, then what is it?
Someone else already
You can't
established.
you can't just look at two skeletons and say, look, these are related.
I am not a paleontologist. I did not hypothesize. This work was done before I was born.
It doesn't matter. Okay, you are embracing what was already done. You are embracing somebody else's hypothesis.
Because it has
Okay.
stood the test of time, and there are
There
are thousands of people that would love to be famous and prove those other researchers wrong. They would be so famous and rich.
No, here's the thing. They're making a claim that you have just embraced and called true.
Right. Because they backed up their claim with rock solid evidence.
What?
It's called
what? You look at
morphology, but
you look at two
now
skeletons.
We have DNA has confirmed morphology.
What?
DNA has confirmed that morphology works.
Well, no, it hasn't. You don't have the DNA.
Yes, and if you let me talk, I'm going to tell you at the species level, it's probably not very good because they haven't changed enough. But if you get to like the class level, oh yeah, it's good with like zero margin of error.
No. Listen.
Yeah.
Here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You're trying to excuse not putting your hypothesis.
I do not need to make any excuses.
You're also saying that I embrace their hypothesis, but I am not hypothesizing anything.
Right. I'm not hypothesizing.
Okay. Well, you are certainly embracing their hypothesis, and their hypothesis.
Well, not because it's a hypothesis.
Hold on.
It was a hypothesis.
Their hypothesis has never undergone a falsification process.
That's false.
It's not.
And it's been falsified in many ways, many times over by thousands of people with thousands of different species of fossils.
What?
Yeah.
There's only one. Okay, so you know better than Dr. Colin Patterson.
I don't know.
Dr. Colin Patterson, British Museum of Natural History, evolutionist, wrote books on evolution, toured for evolution, said there's no way to put those fossils to the test to see whether or not they are actually related. He said a fossil can tell you many things, but one thing it can never tell you is
I bet you if he was here.
Hold on. He said one thing it can never tell you is whether or not it's related to anything else.
I bet you if he was here, he would tell you that, depending on how far apart they are.
I just told you what he said.
Okay, I don't believe you, or either that, or he's a very terrible paleontologist.
You don't believe me, so you think I'm lying to you.
I think you got it wrong, or I think you might have been using like creationist sources.
No.
Yeah.
No, I am not using a creationist source. This is Dr. Colin Patterson, British Museum of Natural History.
I think maybe it was like some of the Answers in Genesis published.
No, it's not. Look, I'm not an idiot. Okay. I know how to read. I know how to take sources from independent.
I'll gladly read what
non-biased. Now, I will say this.
You got it all wrong.
I will say this. You are not using proper scientific method.
Sure I am.
No, you're not. Because there's no way that you can test the Archaeopteryx. And okay, you look.
Yeah, it's shaped a certain way or it isn't.
I'm going to be, do you mind blunt honesty?
Yeah.
You don't know the difference between your observation and your hypothesis.
No.
And then you don't know the difference between the hypothesis.
But I mean, we can look
you don't know the difference between the hypothesis and the test. You think look, here's what you're doing.
You shouldn't say that I don't know the difference between things that I know the difference between. You shouldn't say that.
Here's what you're doing. People have taken the morphology.
Yeah.
Okay, the morphology, and they have compared the morphology between the Archaeopteryx and the theropod dinosaur. Yeah. And they have developed, because of their observation, the morphology being the observation, likenesses in that morphology being the observation. They've then developed the hypothesis that these two are related.
Do you know it's not
But now, they have to run a test. That test has to be capable of proving that this is either right or wrong.
Right.
And there is only one test that can possibly
Now you're
prove.
going to say DNA.
There is only one test that can possibly prove whether or not the Archaeopteryx is related to the theropod dinosaur.
You know it's not the theropod dinosaur, right?
That is through DNA. And if
you know
do not
a
put on
dinosaur, right? You know it's
what?
It's a huge group. It's a huge, widespread clade.
Why do you keep changing the subject?
I'm trying to keep you on the subject.
No, you were changing the subject.
It's not the theropod dinosaur, right? So it's from a group, right?
Right.
So you could look at bird skeletons today.
Hold on. We just went. You're confusing the issue again. We just went through this.
The issue.
You agreed.
You keep saying
you agreed.
I don't understand the difference between hypothesis and test. You keep saying stuff not based on anything.
Leigh.
Yeah.
There's only one test that can prove that hypothesis is right or wrong.
That the only test is DNA. You're going to say that again.
It's the only one that can. Okay.
And you're wrong.
Okay. What other test is going to prove whether what?
I already told you.
What? Your observation? You think your observation is a test? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You don't know the difference between your test and your observation and your hypothesis. They are different things.
You should not say I don't know the difference between things that I know the difference between. You should not say that.
You don't.
It's not true. I can define because they're different words.
Your observation is not your test. Your observation doesn't qualify as a test for your hypothesis. Your hypothesis is based on the observation. Okay? So that's not a test.
Sure it is.
How is the observation? No. That's ridiculous. How is the observation you base your hypothesis on? How is that a test?
Dude, it's not.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Observation and test, they are not the same thing.
That's what I'm telling you. You're trying to say that.
Why are you telling me that which I already know?
Because you're sitting there saying it is the same thing. You're saying that was the test. You're saying that's
two different things, and then you're asking
no. You're saying two different things. You just sat here and said that's how it was tested.
Look, man.
You sat there and said that the morphology is how it was tested.
Yes, the morphology is how it's tested.
Well, that's your observation, dude. Your observation is not your test.
You have to make observations to do your tests.
You have to make observations to come up with your hypothesis.
How do you do a test without making observations?
See, you're not listening.
I am.
You have to.
No, you're not. Everything.
No, you're not. How is your observation a test?
The observation isn't a test, but you need to do
exactly
to do a test.
Now, you just said that the observation, the comparative morphology, was a test.
Look, man, you take a skull, right, and you put it in an MRI machine.
Now you're trying to go back to. Now you're saying the same thing. Then comparative morphology is a test.
I'm about to explain it to you. You don't know what's inside the skull. You don't know the structures. You know the structures of that group already.
So now you're saying again, comparative morphology is a test, when you just admitted that it's not.
I didn't say it's not a test.
You did too say it's not a test.
Dude, you're trying to say observations are a test.
Dude, you're going to have to know. That's what you're saying.
You're playing games with words, man.
I asked you specifically.
The morphology is the test, and it is done by observation. But tests, observations, hypotheses are all different words.
You are
all along the process.
You're
before we make our hypothesis. We do the test. We do observation.
You are going to have to go back and listen to this.
Other people do observations. People observe our work. They publish their observations. They design new tests. They make observations.
No.
That's how it works, dude.
You see, you got it all mixed up, dude. Your observation, you have to make.
I got a cranium and I got a cranium, right? And the hypothesis, it kind of looks like it might be, this dire wolf might be a Canidae, and we know the sinus structure of Canidae. So let's try to disprove that it's Canidae, and then we put it in the MRI machine and we see the sinus structure is not similar to Canidae, and they're like, whoa, we just falsified our hypothesis. Dire wolf is not a canid. That's how you do it.
No, the dire wolf is a canid. It's just not related to the dog.
Okay.
Or the wolf.
I don't know what you're saying about the dire wolf, but I'm going to look that up.
Okay, now, what you're saying is that you look at the morphology of a theropod dinosaur.
Particularly the hips.
Hold on. And you look at the morphology of the Archaeopteryx, and you develop your hypothesis at that moment.
It's not one dinosaur.
Hold on.
You keep cutting me off.
Hold on. Would you quit and listen to me?
Okay.
I'm not I'm letting you speak. So what you are doing, you're taking the morphology of a theropod dinosaur and the morphology of an Archaeopteryx, and you are comparatively looking at them and developing the hypothesis or agreeing with the hypothesis
so
that these these two are related. Now, that is your observation and that is your hypothesis. Now you have to put it through a falsification test. Now that falsification test cannot be the comparative morphology.
Yes, it can be.
Because that's what you just based your hypothesis on.
So your hypothesis...
Hold on. Listen. That was your observation.
Nope.
So that's what I'm saying.
You say listen when you don't want me to correct you.
You can't correct me.
You say don't interrupt me. Listen when you don't want me to correct you.
You won't listen.
Because there's some things I can correct.
What is my point?
Okay, so the hypothesis...
No, what is my point?
You just keep talking every time I start to answer.
What is my point?
Your point is that the hypothesis can't be the test.
What?
And that they're both morphology. What you're not realizing is...
No. What is my point?
Your point is that the hypothesis is my morphology and the test is morphology. It doesn't work. They can't both be morphology.
In other words, if your hypothesis is based on the observation of morphology... I just
repeated your point, and now you're going to say in other words.
In other words, if the hypothesis is based on the observation of morphology, then that is not also your test. The observation of morphology.
It can't be. And now, if you will let me talk, I'm going to answer that, but I doubt you'll let me talk this time.
Go ahead. You agree with me that it can't be the same.
Okay, so you have theropoda, and you have a very wide variety of very distantly related species. But and through a long period of time, you have hundreds from 80 million years ago, and hundreds from 60 million years ago, and hundreds from 40 million years ago. And you realize there are trends throughout all these lineages, and you have actually labeled like 50 different lineages. New groups within theropoda.
Every one of these you're assuming and claiming without testing.
Whatever, man. Just assume it's all phony, all right? Now, so then...
it's okay that you make your hypotheses and you don't allow them to be tested.
Phony so I can finish. Right. So then you go all these different ways, and you get this one group. And not only do you think it's a theropod, but you're like, oh my gosh, this looks like this one very specific group of theropods. And there, you did some morphology, but it was just a glance. You're like, yeah, I think so. So what you do is you start making phone calls. You're like, I need an MRI machine. I need fossils from, you're calling up people all over the world. You're gathering these fossils. Now you're going to compare. You're going to do a comparative morphology with like 20 different fossils, and you're going to have people working in other.
So you're just going to expand your problem. You're just going to expand.
No.
You're just going to expand your false science.
Hold on.
Without.
Hold
No. Without falsifying. Look, dude.
You're interrupting me to say the thing I'm about to just shoot down. Like you won't let me say the sentence that's going to shoot down what you're about to say.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so you get very detailed. You've got a condyle. You've got a hole in this one bone right here. There's no reason for it to be there, but this lineage has it, and you've got. It gets really astronomical, the odds against it, when there's
more comparative morphology.
Right. It's more comparative, it's more detailed. Right. And you're laughing at it, which is very dishonest because you're trying to discredit it. You're trying to discredit it by laughing at it.
You're just proving my point.
You're making the false claim that more comparative morphology can't confirm earlier.
You're just multiplying your problem.
You're
just multiplying
the problem when you're
you are just multiplying your untested claims.
No, and then you can classify it, and then you can classify it within a degree of certainty.
Hold on.
You can say
hold on a minute. You don't even see how you're just multiplying your problem here. Okay.
No.
What you're saying is
I don't see it.
Well, no. Watch what, dude. Listen to me. What you're saying is, okay, I can't use my observation here to test my hypothesis because the observation is not a test.
Right. You would need a much better.
You agree with me on that?
Yeah. You need a.
But then you go on and say. But what I can do is make more observations,
right?
Make more hypotheses, and just pile them on top of each other without testing them too.
It's the same hypothesis.
And then if I pile enough of these,
you're not doing that at all.
Stop. If I pile enough of these up,
but you stop because you're not piling these up.
If I pile enough of these untested claims up, then it makes them fact.
No, you don't do it that way.
And all you've done, that's right, you don't do it that way. Right. But that's what you're saying we do.
No, it's definitely not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you just said.
Trying to say I'm saying what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that.
Okay, did you not say that we get in touch with all these other people and you say, send me more fossils, fossils.
Right.
And then you do more comparative morphology.
In the end, when you publish your
findings, and then you're doing more comparative morphology.
I promise you that ending that
yes or no.
Story,
yes or no.
I'm gonna finish my thought.
Are you doing more comparative morphology?
Yes. Now let me finish.
There you go. Yeah. So you're saying
don't
comparative.
Say, there you go, like it supported some points. You did not support
it. Does. Anything. You just said comparative morphology is not a test.
Your findings, you say.
Dude, you just said comparative morphology is not a test.
I did not say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
You're going to have to go back and listen to this because you certainly did.
I would never say that.
Several times you just did.
No, I never said that.
Listening audience. Did he not say comparative morphology is not a test? Several times. Yes, he did.
Comparative morphology is a test.
No. How is it a test? This is your observation.
It's a test because if it doesn't. No.
It's the only thing you base. It is the only thing you base your hypothesis on.
My hypothesis.
That's right. Comparative morphology is the only thing.
You've repeated yourself like 100 times. I'm going to finish my thought. So when you publish...
hold on. Are you denying? Are you saying I'm wrong now? You've been adamant.
You're wrong for saying I'm saying things that I'm not saying.
You've been adamant that comparative morphology is the only thing you're basing your hypothesis on.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so what?
Now.
But you said
now that you have your observation.
Yes.
which is comparative morphology.
Yes.
And you develop your hypothesis.
Yes.
Comparative morphology cannot be your test.
Yes, it can.
No, you know what that's saying? Look, these two look alike, so they're related. Now, how am I going to test that?
No, it's
They
not
look
like that
alike.
at all. No, it's not like
No.
that at all.
That's exactly what you're doing.
No.
Look, all of these look alike.
I am not going to let you get away with it. It's not like that at all.
All of these look alike. So that's their test.
Why do you always talk over me when I'm about to make a point?
Well, you interrupted me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what you're saying is,
me, I won't have to interrupt you so much. Okay?
No, you're the one not wanting me to finish the sentence, dude.
I want to answer the claims that you keep making.
I wasn't done saying what I was saying. Dude. What I am saying here is, you're saying that
you repeat the same shit.
No, I'm going to finish what I'm saying, and if you quit interrupting, I can say it all.
All right.
So what you're saying is, comparative morphology is what you base your hypothesis on.
I've said yes to that.
And then you also said comparative morphology is not your test.
I did not say that.
Okay. So then here's what you are saying. You're saying comparative morphology is my observation, and I develop my hypothesis based on the comparative morphology.
Do you understand that?
And now I'm going to use comparative morphology to test my hypothesis that was based.
Correct. How many times do I have to confirm that?
Okay, and you don't see how circular that is.
It is not circular.
What you're saying is,
can I explain why it's not circular?
I'm basing my observation.
You just said it's circular. Will you let me explain why it's not circular?
Let me finish.
Okay. You asked me a question. Do I see how circular
I didn't ask you a question. Okay.
You said, do you see how circular that is?
And you don't. So here's
telling you why it's not circular. Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you understand that comparative morphology it's a group of things you can do, right?
No.
You could do
look, that's your observation, dude.
You won't let me finish a thought, dude.
That's your observation. That's not a test.
I didn't say it's not an observation. It can also be a test. No,
it can't be. That's like saying, look, these two.
You won't let me explain how it can be a test, will you?
No, you're saying these. Hold on. You're saying, stop interrupting, dude.
You just admitted you won't let me.
You're saying what?
You just admitted you won't let me explain it.
That's because you don't see what you're saying here, and you keep interrupting me. Now look.
I see exactly what I'm saying.
What you're saying. You say you're doing it again.
Yeah.
So here's what you're doing.
I'm going to keep doing it.
You're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And you call that civility.
Well, I mean, if I matched your level of civility, I'd be very uncivil. I'm being way more civil than you.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me how is it circular, how do I not see that it's circular? I'd love to explain that.
Look, here's what you're doing.
No, don't tell me what I'm doing again. Because you've explained that a bunch of times and I've agreed.
Respect your elder, dude.
I don't.
Well, you should.
No.
Because here's what you're doing. You're saying, look, these two look alike. So I'm going to hypothesize that they are related. And because I've received all of these other skeletons that look alike,
yeah,
I'm going to say that's my test that proves they're related.
It's not that simple, but
that's exactly what you just said.
If you'll ever let me explain,
that's exactly what and that's not a test.
Do you understand that comparative morphology is a whole?
I understand that you're complicating your problem by saying I don't need to test this one because I've got these 30 other groups that I didn't test either.
Do you understand that
they all look alike?
The things that you could do, and you could do.
You see, you haven't tested a single one of these.
You just
you can laugh, but you haven't tested a single one. You don't even know the difference between
the show, and you won't let your guest answer your questions.
Well, the guest keeps interrupting, but
The
and
guest is
then
interrupting to try to answer the questions that you asked.
you're not answering the
And
question.
you're just repeating yourself instead of letting me answer your questions.
You've had your chance to answer my questions.
No, I didn't.
And when you answered them in such a way just now as to prove that I'm right.
No.
That's exactly what you
told me that. And
then
I
tell me
wanna
how.
tell you-
Then
Dude,
tell me how I just said you complicated your problem.
Yeah, you just said that, and you really shouldn't have said that.
So you don't know how I just said you complicated your problem.
Yes, I do. I heard it.
How?
What do you mean?
What?
I heard you say it.
What?
So,
I want to see if you can explain it.
So you're actually unraveling your problem. So
No,
your problem is you want to identify.
it's not my problem. It's your problem.
So
I'm asking you, what did I say a problem is?
You want to identify this thing, and you do a cursory look at it, and you're like, that kind of looks like those things. I think it might be one of those things. Then you do a whole something totally different than your cursory observation. And that's where you're actually comparing condyles down to the micrometer level.
Oh, so you just make more. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. More morphological observation.
Yeah, but better in different ones.
No, that's still part of your observation. That's not your test.
And depending on how well everything matches up, you have a certain degree of confidence.
You have a certain degree of confidence in something that's untested.
Well, anyone should have a certain degree of confidence, meaning that
I don't have any.
They're 100% certain it's the same class.
I don't have any confidence. I don't have
90% certain it's the same family.
Dude, I don't have
60%.
Look. I don't have any confidence.
Jesus.
See, you're interrupting again.
Interrupting. You keep interrupting me and say I'm interrupting because I keep talking.
You said that we have confidence. I'm saying no, you have confidence in something that's untested. I have zero confidence that they are related.
In and let me finish. I mean, seriously, I said you have a certain degree of confidence, and and then you start talking about you have a certain degree of confidence. Just let me talk, dude.
Well, I'm correcting you.
You're not correcting me because you don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I don't have any confidence at all that they're related. You do.
Let's be real. You don't even accept evolution. All right?
What? Well, why should I?
Well, just to be a normal person, dude.
What?
Just to be a normal person, you got to accept evolution.
Oh, just to be a normal person, I've got to accept evolution? Why? You believe it because they tell you.
If you ignore
you don't have any proof whatsoever of evolution.
If you ignore mountains of evidence, if you ignore proof and say people don't have proof when there's proof right in front of you,
you don't have
normal.
You don't have time for evolution, dude.
I don't have time. Why do you think I study biology?
Did you study biology?
Yeah.
Okay, then what's the half-life of collagen?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
We didn't memorize that in any of our classes.
Do you want vascular?
30 years ago.
You want vascular collagen? The half-life of vascular collagen is 60 to 70 days. The half-life of skin collagen is 15 years. The half-life of the collagen that's found in your cartilage is 117 years.
For the sake of argument, I'll just accept that.
Now, why is that important?
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you why that's important. Because collagen has been found in dozens and dozens and dozens of dinosaur bones now. Okay? And not just one. Mary Schweitzer didn't just find soft tissue, collagen.
Oh, no, Schweitzer.
Oh, hold on.
The one where they found the blood. And
she didn't just find collagen in a T-Rex. She also found it in a hadrosaur. It's been found in a T-Rex. It's been found, as a matter of fact, Mary's done a paper where she's identified nearly 100 cases of soft tissue found in dinosaur bones, and it goes back nearly a century. Okay, so why is this important?
Because creationists twisted to make their claim that dinosaur bones aren't as old as they are.
What am I twisting?
If you read the Schweitzer papers, They don't go the same direction as websites like Answers and Genesis or all them.
No, what do they say?
You just got to follow up. I don't have it right here.
I have
Okay, good. What do you look? What's your source?
Mary Schweizer.
All right, her paper. When was it published?
Okay. Well, she's done a number of papers. The
Yeah,
first paper that she
what's the
published.
date of
Hold
this
on.
paper?
Hold on. The first thing she did, I don't know if you know the story or not. When she first released the news that she found a soft tissue in dinosaur bone, do you realize the backlash she got from that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people doubted her.
Yeah, they didn't just doubt her; they called her a fraud. They called her stupid. Do you know who she worked for?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I remember that.
Do you know whose lab she actually found it in? She found it in Jack Horner's lab. Do you know who Jack Horner is?
Yes.
Who's Jack Horner?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
He's a paleontologist.
Yeah, but what? Just a paleontologist? He's probably the foremost paleontologist of the last 100 or so years.
All right, well, that would explain why I know who he is.
Not only that, he's an evolutionist. He's an atheist. He was the senior paleontologist on all of the first 3 Jurassic Park movies. He played a bit role and worked as an advisor on the Lost World Jurassic Park movies. But that's who she worked for. She found this in his laboratory. So the first thing they had to do was rescue his reputation. So what she did, she ran a series of tests because they were under such fire. And it wasn't just her, it was a whole team of scientists. Thousands of tests over and over and over and over to prove this was not just biofilm, okay? To prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was in fact soft tissue. Now, what they found...
I don't know. I think I accepted it was soft tissue, so maybe you're wasting your time telling me all this.
Okay, well, what they found was vascular tissue. They found blood veins. They found red blood cells in the tracks of these blood veins. They found collagen. Now, why is this important? Why is the half-life of collagen important here?
I don't think it's a half-life like an atomic half-life. I think it's more.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
When it's exposed to air.
That's where you're wrong. Okay, everything has a half-life.
Yeah,
collagen has a half-life. Now, hold on. Hold on.
You're saying I'm wrong, but you didn't even understand my distinction. It's a half-life of like when an organic molecule is exposed to air, it has a half-life.
Everything has a half-life, okay?
Right. The fact that everything has a half-life is irrelevant.
Well, no, it's not irrelevant because here's what happened.
Okay.
Everybody was saying, the science, you can laugh, okay? But the scientists were saying that this was impossible. It's actually absolutely impossible that collagen and red blood cells and these blood veins lasted 65 million years. Absolutely impossible.
It really turned some things upside down. It was interesting.
Yes. So here's what happened. After they proved that this was indeed real blood veins, this was indeed real collagen.
They proved that?
They proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt, yes.
Oh,
okay.
I thought,
and not just in one specimen, but in many specimens.
I thought it was accepted that it was that.
Well, it is now, okay, because
you said they proved it wasn't.
What?
You said they proved it was not that.
No, you're not listening, dude. That's not
I'm
what I said at all.
Very carefully.
They proved that it was.
Okay, well, I accept that. Okay. That's what I read.
Okay, so here's what happened then. Mary Schweitzer began searching for a way because she said this is absolutely impossible. This cannot happen. It's impossible that soft tissue lasts 65 million years. Absolutely impossible. The half-lives don't allow for it to even come close. This can't even be 1 billion years old. So how is this happening? So what?
Half-lives when exposed to oxygen.
No. It's still impossible. You're not understanding.
If the reactants aren't
It
there,
is no. They were saying it is impossible. The scientists were saying this is impossible. It can't possibly last even 1 million years.
Not even encased in a certain mineral.
No. Okay, you're just making shit up.
I'm not making shit up. I read about that.
You are making it up. Show me anything. Show me anything right now.
Show you right now.
Hold on.
Show
me anything right now that says soft tissue can last 65 million years. I want to see.
I'm going to show you that.
I want to see
my computer, which is what I would use to look.
Well, you see, because number one, I want to tell you right now, you can't show me that. Here's why you can't, because
I can show you that right after the show.
No, you can't show me that, because I can. What I can do is show everybody right here, right now, what we do have, and that's exactly what I'll do.
Wow, you got it all pulled up, but hey, show me, man. Like I'm supposed to be able to produce a computer with another monitor right here. Let me ask you something.
Why this is Mary Schweitzer's paper.
Anyway.
Hold on. Because this proves evolution is a crock. Okay? Proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Let's just, for the sake
of hold on, I am not done. Not only do you not have one transitional fossil that's been tested and proven to be a transitional fossil through testing, DNA testing. Not one. You don't have time for evolution, and this proves it right here. Hold on.
Eric.
A role. No, you're interrupting again. A role for iron and oxygen chemistry in preserving soft tissues, cells, and molecules from deep time. This was done. This test this paper was put out in 2014.
So there's the iron-rich mineral that I spoke of.
Yes, and now let's see what it says.
Making it up.
Now let's see what it says. Yes, you are making it up.
Yeah.
Here's what it says.
Here's the article right there.
Okay, do I have to mute you while I read this?
Yeah.
The persistence of original soft tissues, this means unfossilized biological tissue, in Mesozoic fossil bone is not explained by current chemical degradation models. In other words, we found soft tissue in Mesozoic fossil bone that should not be there, and there is no way for us to explain how it's there.
Right. Now, it's not explained by current degradation models.
Hold on. That's right, including the ones we have now.
Yeah.
We identified iron particles associated with soft tissues recovered from 2 Mesozoic dinosaurs using transmission electron microscopy, electron energy loss spectrometry, micro X-ray diffraction, and it goes on. Now, here's what she found out. Hemoglobin, they used the hemoglobin from an ostrich. Hemoglobin increased tissue preservation and masking proteins in fossil tissues. It increased stability more than 200-fold.
Yeah, I read that. I read on the head.
Okay, now what's that mean?
It means what it says.
Yeah, and what does it say?
Hemoglobin increased tissue stability more than 200-fold.
Okay, from 3 days to more than 2 years at room temperature. Now, tell me something. What happens at the end of 10 half-lives? Of anything, 10 half-lives.
There is 1 over 10 to the 10th power remaining of what's there.
In other words, there's not enough there to be significant.
It's probably unmeasurable at that point. Yeah.
Okay, that is why we. How does that relate to carbon-14 testing?
Carbon-14 is based on half-lives too. Is that?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, how does that, what you just said, how does that relate to carbon-14 testing? We don't carbon-14 test anything we suspect over 50,000 years. Why?
Right. 50,000 is the pocket. You could maybe stretch it to 70,000.
Yeah.
And then it starts being very useless.
Because basically at the end of 10 half-lives, there should be nothing left, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
I'll go with that.
Okay, now let's do the math. If you have a half-life, and let's not even use the 60 to 70 day collagen for vascular collagen. Let's not use the 15-year skin collagen.
Yeah.
Let's use the 117-year collagen that's found in cartilage. At the end of 10 half-lives, how much time has passed?
What's the half-life? Which collagen? What half-life?
117 years.
Times 10?
Yeah.
So that would be 1,170 years.
Okay, good. So that means at the end of 1,170 years, you should basically have zero collagen left in that bone. But let's say a miracle happened and they were able to reproduce Mary's best work here in that bone. Her best results were a 200-fold increase.
Yeah.
What is 1,170 years times 200?
Times 200?
Yep.
It's 221,000 something. I don't know.
Close. 234,000 years.
234,000. Okay.
Okay. So, in other words, according to all of these tests that she ran over and over and over and over and over and over again,
yeah,
these bones cannot be 1,000,000 years old. The oldest they can possibly be, because of the half-life,
yeah,
the collagen that we found in there, the oldest that they could possibly be is 234,000 years old.
Are you just going to explain that according to that, they can't be that old? Or there's no explanation for how old they are?
What's that now?
So there's no explanation for how they found this, right?
No, this is Mary. This is what Mary said. We've tested this, and the longest we've been able to extend the viability.
Okay, can you accept that I'm just accepting it? That I'm saying, okay.
Okay, 200-fold. Okay, so now let's look at something else. Now,
can we like, what if I just tell you, what if I just say evolution's a crock, right? Evolution never happened. It's not a thing.
Well, let me give you something.
The whole thing. Remember, this thing was supposed to be called like the absurdity of atheism. We haven't touched on that.
Okay, well, let me give you something that does a little bit more.
I like biology, but this is, I've read these things and.
Okay, now let's look at. Would you agree with me that once you find information like this, that through actual scientific testing, we have all of these bones with the soft tissue that shouldn't be there, and that the best results prove that the oldest these bones can be is 234,000 years old. Don't you agree that would call for further testing using other things to come? Okay, thank you. Now, that's exactly what happened. And I've got the papers on this too.
Okay, I'm all for the further testing. But let me ask you something. Okay, so imagine evolution is just not a thing, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, okay, so here I am, I'm an atheist, and I believe that everything has been the way it was since, I don't know, just kind of came along, you know? So can we talk about, what's the title of this thing? Like what I must believe to be an atheist that's absurd.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at this. As an atheist, and as somebody that can't believe in creation, and everything bringing forth after its own kind. Okay.
Well, maybe I could believe in everything coming forth after its kind. I just can't believe a God did it, right? As an atheist, I can't believe a God exists.
Okay. So, but you are you saying that you can believe that everything only brings forth after its own kind?
Yeah, I mean that's literally like theropods are always theropods.
Well, birds are always birds. Bacteria is always
But
bacteria.
forget what I actually believe. Let's just pretend I don't believe in evolution at all.
Well, you see, I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cheat.
Okay, but I want to talk about what this. There's a title to this video, and I want
Right.
to talk about that.
Well, that's what I'm trying to lead you into.
Okay.
Okay, so you do agree that because of this, if there are other ways to test the age of dinosaur bone, we should utilize it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's exactly what happened.
I mean, even if they're bad ways, just to find out that they're bad and eliminate them.
Now, the first thing that happened was when people saw this and they extended, they did the math and they said, okay, well, these bones can't even be 1,000,000 years old then. What they suggested was, and what they went further than suggested, there were scores, literally hundreds of samples of dinosaur bones that were sent out to be carbon-14 tested now.
Why would you carbon-14 test dinosaur bones?
Well, we just found out they can't even be 1,000,000 years old.
Okay.
Okay. The oldest they can possibly be is 234,000 years old. So why would you not test them? Now,
okay, are you just saying that like the Earth is not as old as like science says it is?
What? No, I'm not talking about the Earth at all. I'm talking about evolution. I'm talking about. Hold on.
No evolution, like it didn't happen.
Oh no, dude, I'm not going to cheat.
Okay.
Okay. I thought you wanted this discussion. I'm trying to lay it out for you.
Okay.
Okay. So once they saw that these bones could not be over 234,000 years old, hundreds of samples taken from several different dinosaurs, from several different museums, from several different digs, were sent to several different laboratories to have them as carbon-14 tested. Absolutely every single one. Absolutely every single one. I've got the paper for this too. Absolutely every single one came back young. The youngest was 9,000 years old. The oldest was like 49,000 years old, something like that.
Okay, let's just say I
hold on.
All less than 40,000 years old.
Hold on. Now, at that point, several interesting things started to happen. First of all, there was a big thing that went around trying to get these laboratories to never again test dinosaur bones for carbon-14. Never again. You can laugh, but that literally happened.
Well, it's kind of funny because why would you even do that in the first place? But anyways, go on.
Why would you do it in the first place? Why would you not do it? If you have tests coming back that are laughing in your face,
because
hold on. Hold on. We have tests right here, right in front of you that you can't debunk. Nobody can debunk that proves that dinosaur bones are not even 1,000,000 years old.
Here's why. Because you have like 13 other really great methods of radiometric dating. And they all jive with each other. And you could use like 5 of those.
They do not jive with each other.
Yeah.
That proves that you don't know the first thing about radiometric dating.
And the moment they don't jive with each other, it's a big problem.
Okay. That's right. It is a big problem.
Yeah.
Because they don't jive with one another. Okay, I'm going to ask you something.
What about when 7 of them jive with each other and then the 8th one doesn't?
How old do you have to assume a rock is before you use uranium lead?
I don't know. And
you don't assume. You have to assume that rock is over 10,000,000 years old. Okay, you have to assume it.
Okay.
Before you can use, and now, if you're going to use potassium argon.
I would look, I don't memorize these things. I would pull up a chart if I was trying to.
Well, I happen to know. You have to assume an age of the rock, no matter what test you choose. You have
Okay,
to.
just say you
Okay,
don't. If you
number
don't
one.
know anything, you might
Now,
just
now
throw
quit.
back into the
Well,
one
I'm
you
not.
came from.
I am not done.
Yeah.
Number two. Not only do you have to assume an age of a rock, you have to assume that there was no leaching in or out of any of the mother-daughter isotopes ever
Right?
in that time period, in that 10, 15,
You
20.
don't have to assume it. You should
Yes,
just
you do.
acknowledge. No, you should just
You,
acknowledge that's a possibility going forward.
no, you have to assume there was no leaching. You have to assume
You
the
don't
constant.
assume that.
Yes, that's, dude, all you're doing is proving you don't know how they do this.
Yeah, no. If you assume that, then you might get bad findings and not know why you got them.
You
You
have to
understand?
assume that.
You have to acknowledge the possibility of that happening.
So are you saying that they don't assume a steady rate of decay?
Dude, you do your best test and you might be way off.
Are you saying they don't assume a steady
You might
rate of?
choose the wrong one on the first try. And
No,
the
hold
third-
on. Are you saying they don't assume a steady rate of decay?
Of course, they assume a steady rate of decay. I would never say
Okay.
they don't.
You're going to say they don't. Okay.
I would
Then-
never say they don't assume a steady rate of decay. That is something that you know that. Okay.
If they
You
don't
know
assume a
leaching.
steady, okay. If
Leaching
they,
is different. Leaching can happen,
Dude.
not happen. Half-lives don't change.
you're assuming a steady rate of decay.
Yes, but you don't assume leaching or not leaching
Why?
because decay rates don't change. Leaching
Okay.
can happen or not happen.
Okay, I have a sample right here. How much uranium was originally in this sample?
I don't know.
Exactly. How much lead was originally in this sample?
I have no idea.
That's right. Neither do they.
I don't even know what it looks like.
They don't know how much was there either.
Okay.
You see
That's why you would test it.
how?
You would look at the isotopes that are there right now.
Yeah. Well, how much was there when you began?
I don't know. I have nothing.
Exactly. You don't know how much was there.
You just told me you had.
They
some
don't know.
uranium.
They don't know how much was there either.
Yeah, I haven't tested your imaginary uranium, dude. Like I don't know what to tell you.
See, you don't even know what you're saying. You don't even understand the significance of the question I just asked you.
You asked me how much uranium was in some uranium you have.
That's right.
I don't
How
know.
much? They don't either.
Okay, 7.
See, at this point, I don't think you're even interested in an honest conversation.
I don't know why you're asking me about your imaginary sample of uranium.
Okay, well, because I
How
want
am
you to
I supposed to
understand.
know anything about it?
I want you. You're making my point for me.
What's your point?
You don't understand the point.
Yeah, I don't. That I can't know how much uranium was in your imaginary sample of uranium?
You don't know how much uranium was in this sample when it began.
That's correct.
You don't know how much lead was in that sample when it began.
Right?
You don't know how much lead or uranium eventually seeped in or seeped out over a period of so many million years.
Right. I don't know all those things.
So if you measure it now and you say it's got this much uranium and it's got this much lead, you don't know what to subtract that from. You don't know what to add it from. You don't know what it had in the beginning. So your information now is useless.
You're trying to find out what it had in the beginning.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah, that's what these measurements are for.
What?
Dude, you're talking about radiometric dating.
Yeah. You still don't understand your problem.
What is my problem?
The problem is you don't know how much was there originally. So how much is there now means nothing.
Well,
Since
how
they
much
could-
there is now kind of helps you
Since-
figure out how much there was originally. That's what
No,
I'm
no,
saying.
it does not. Because it could have seeped in or seeped out.
It
No.
could have.
Let me prove.
That's why you get inaccurate tests sometimes. Do you know
Okay,
that?
if you don't want to listen, there's an audience out here that is. So let me explain something to the audience then,
I'm listening to you very well.
and why this is important.
It's rude
Because
to say I'm not listening.
when they started finding all of the C14 and all of these bones, and every single one of them proved to be between 9,000 and 40,000 years old, the scientific community was up in arms all over again, just like they were when Mary found the soft tissue. Now, this time they were saying, and I can show the papers that were done by people showing that every single one of these samples came back young, and I can show the scientific response to it, which they did another paper. This paper
the Earth is young.
This paper basically said, well, you can't trust the carbon-14 test in these dinosaur bones because the carbon-14 obviously leached in from somewhere. So obviously, every single one of these tests, every single one of them that came back young, and every one of them did come back young, every single one of them are wrong because it's corrupted. The carbon-14 leached into it. Now you're saying that they're going to take something. They're going to say, but we can assure you that the uranium and lead did not leach in or out of this sample.
Who said that?
That's basically what you're saying, Dave.
I am not saying that. I specifically said that can happen.
So you're saying that happened in absolutely every circumstance.
I did not say that. There's no way it happened in every circumstance.
Okay. So you have tests coming back.
Okay.
You have tests coming back young for every single one of these. Now, Jack Horner at this point was.
Can we just assume it's all young? Like it's nothing's older than
I don't want to cheat. That's cheating. Okay. Jack Horner at this point, who was
all 40. The world is less than 40,000 years old.
I didn't say that.
I'm just saying that. So we can move forward. I want to get to the subject of this video.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Can we get there, please?
Well, you don't think it's absurd to think dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago when we have two independent types of testing proving that they can't even be a million years old?
If we had that, I would say that was absurd, but we don't. But anyway.
Yes, we do. I've just given it to you. I've just given this to you through two lines of evidence.
You have my name.
Two lines of science that you're just blowing off.
Okay. The world is young. Okay, so Leigh Hunt, atheist, is here to talk about the absurdity of being an atheist.
Okay.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't think it's absurd to believe in evolution?
Forget evolution. Pretend I don't believe evolution.
But an atheist believes in evolution.
And lots of theists believe evolution, and there are atheists that don't believe evolution.
That doesn't matter. There are not any atheists that do not believe in evolution.
There are atheists that don't believe in evolution.
No, there are not.
Yeah, there are.
Point one to me.
Anyway, so
show me the atheist that doesn't.
Obviously, evolution is not related to atheism. It's
that's not true.
It's not a thing.
Then show me the atheist that doesn't. Show me. You see, you're just going to talk over me. Show me the atheist that doesn't believe in evolution.
Once again, I could look that up on my computer.
But no, show it to me now. Okay, then admit you're just bullshitting. You're just pulling that out.
Yeah, there are atheists that don't accept evolution. I'll show them to you.
Who?
I'll drop you a link after the show.
No, that's something you can't show. Atheists.
I don't know any of their names.
Atheists believe in.
Like I'm supposed to know their names, or I'm wrong.
Atheists have to buy into abiogenesis, and atheists have to buy into evolution.
Well,
neither of which you can prove.
A theist has to buy into abiogenesis.
What?
Well, according to a theist, there was no life, and then there was life, right?
What? Are you calling creation abiogenesis?
Sure, there was no life, and then a God made
That's
life.
that is not abiogenesis, dude. Do you need an encyclopedic definition for
Well, look,
abiogenesis?
I know when we talk about the study of abiogenesis, we don't study God's doing it because like there's no evidence for that. But if
What do you
there was,
mean there's no evidence for that?
well, if there were evidence for God's making the life, then they would be a part of the abiogenesis
Oh,
study.
show me life coming from non-life.
You show me life coming from non-life.
It doesn't.
Okay, but you believe in creation, right?
What? That's not life coming from non-life. Is God alive? If God is
Is
he
God alive?
alive?
Okay, where did God come from?
What?
Is God eternal?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, say I am an atheist and I never even thought about those things.
Oh no. You see, you have to buy into one thing or the other.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Well,
You
I
have
do
to
because I grew up exposed to this knowledge.
to explain life
Well,
on Earth.
what about someone
You
that
have
lives in the
to
jungle
hold on.
somewhere with no science classes?
Are you an atheist?
Yes,
Then you can't believe in creation.
not by a God.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Right.
You have to believe in abiogenesis and evolution as the cause.
What if I'm an atheist that believes life has always been here?
Well, that's not possible.
Well, then I could just say whatever you propose is not possible.
What?
Well, you said a God did it. That's not possible. I could say that. I mean, anyone can propose anything and you could say it's not possible.
So facts and observation mean nothing to you.
They mean everything to me.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, then you have to admit that life only comes from life.
Well, life arose, didn't it?
No. Do you observe life being brought forth?
We can see how it was done.
Do you observe life being brought forth?
No,
today?
I don't.
You don't observe new life being brought forth today.
Well, I mean, you mean from non-life?
Do you observe life being brought forth in any way today?
Clarify what you're asking, because I mean, I've seen life, but I haven't seen life come from non-life. Are you asking about life coming from non-life?
Do you ever observe life coming forth, life being created, new life forming?
And I'm asking, do you mean from non-life or from other life?
You can't answer the question I just asked.
I need you to clarify if you mean from.
Well, let me tell you.
Other life.
I have observed. Most people
I'll answer
have.
both. Just because you won't clarify. I've never seen life come from non-life. I have seen life come from life. Okay?
Okay. So you have never seen life come from non-life.
That's correct.
And every time you've observed life coming forth, you've observed life coming forth from other life, a previous life before it. Okay, and you've never observed anything different than that.
That's correct.
Okay, then that's your observation.
Correct.
Okay, so what can we extrapolate from that? That it takes life to bring forth life.
Well, but we know that there was a time when there was no life.
How do you know that?
Because the universe was like too hot. There weren't even.
How do you know? See, that's another hypothesis that you're presenting.
Okay, but we can see it. We can observe like early galaxies.
You're presenting more hypotheses, dude. Here's what I'm saying.
We could observe it happening.
And observe what happening.
We can observe the early universe.
How?
By looking through a telescope.
And how does that tell you how all of this happened?
Because we're seeing it as it was.
Why does science disagree with you?
Science doesn't just agree with me.
They disagree with you. They cannot see the creation of this universe. Okay, they cannot see it. They cannot see the creation of this universe.
Okay, yeah, we can extrapolate back, and then at some point we don't know anything.
So what you're presenting is more hypotheses that are unprovable.
Well, there's a point where we don't even have a hypothesis.
What? Of course, you have
If
hypotheses.
you go back before the Planck era, you don't even have any like real working hypotheses.
Okay, so are you going to believe the absurd?
I know.
It's not absurd to believe that life came from non-life.
It's absurd to not believe that because we know there is life and we know there's a time when there was not life.
Prove that.
That has been proven by cosmologists, astronomers,
How?
geologists.
I want to see the proof that there was no life.
Once again, dude, this is something I could do if I wasn't talking to you through my computer.
No, you can't. Nobody can
I'm
prove.
just a guy sitting in my bedroom.
You cannot see. All you're giving me is one claim after another. Now, let me ask you something.
Like, what do you expect?
What
is a projector behind me?
What is a real person, man?
What is a what?
Are you a body?
Yeah.
Or are you a soul?
I'm a body.
The real you, the inner you.
That's me.
Once your body dies, are you dead?
Yes.
How do you know?
Because you can see what happens when people die.
What about the people that disagree with you? They say they died and seen other things.
They're going against the evidence.
Okay, so do you think your dad was a fool?
In some ways, yes.
Do you think he went against the evidence?
Yes.
What if your dad is sitting there looking at you right now, wishing that you would come back to him?
That would be amazing.
Okay. Are people energy?
No.
People are not energy? Your consciousness?
Well, okay. Yeah, I guess everything's energy. So, yeah.
So is your consciousness energy?
Well, it's a result of energy. But like when we stop living, we stop eating and making energy through our metabolism.
But if you are energy, you're not going to be destroyed.
Well, the energy doesn't get destroyed, but what is us gets destroyed.
How do you know? What if the real you...
Because we can see people rot.
See, you're assuming that the real you is just a body.
Well, I don't need to assume it.
Yes, you are. If you were a quantum physicist, you would give second thought on that. Do you know who Dr. Alan Gates is?
I wish you would stop bringing up people's names and just talk to me.
Dr. James Gates.
I don't care what Dr. Gates said. What does Eric have to say?
Dr. James Gates. Dr. James Gates is a theoretical physicist. He's a scientist. He's worked on the model of the universe.
I don't care about his...
I thought you wanted to talk about the absurdities, dude.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this guy's resume. Just tell me what he said.
Okay, well, I'm trying to talk to you about absurdities.
Okay.
He said he's worked on the current model of the universe, string theory, and supersymmetry for a couple of decades. And he came to a conclusion. Have you ever heard of the theory of the simulated universe?
Yes.
And do you know why they have that theory?
I don't understand it very well.
I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Dr. Gates is the one that kind of started this off, kicked it off. Because in his study of the universe, trying to figure the universe mathematically, the mathematics that underlie the universe are an actual computer code that already exists. And he discovered this computer code underlying the mathematics that describe our universe.
I don't believe that.
Well, I don't care if you believe it or not.
Yeah.
There are a number of scientists that take that very seriously.
I'll take it seriously too, but I won't accept it until it's well justified.
Hold on. Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of these that he actually interviewed him. And he was tripping out because he's saying that we could actually live in a matrix. Now, the one thing that I'm going to point to is the fact that if what he is saying is true, this proves a creator of the universe. Number two, and when we go to quantum physics, okay, and when we go to the double slit experiment, what do you know about the double slit experiment?
I know it was done by Niels Bohr. I know it showed that hydrogen when it gives off photons, they act like both a wave and a particle.
Well, basically, it's like this. When matter is being observed, it operates like matter, particles.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
When it's not being observed, it operates like it's energy, a wave. Okay.
Agreed.
Now, there's a lot of people, things that you can extrapolate from this. Was there an observer to the Big Bang?
I don't think so, but I mean,
If there was no observer to the Big
I
Bang,
guess I shouldn't assume, like I'm talking to you about atheism, theism. Maybe your God was there and observed it.
if there was no observer to the Big Bang, how did E equals MC2? How did matter act as matter? Why did it not act as a wave?
First of all, the double slit experiment does not apply to this, and you shouldn't have really prefaced it with that.
Oh, you're just going to say that.
Yeah, I'm going to say that.
You're just going to claim that.
We just have very hot, dense matter, and we don't have particles, and the double slit experiment involved particles.
What? How do you know we had no particles? You see,
that's the model.
So you're just making up all of this stuff.
Well,
you're throwing science to the side. Now look, in order for the Big Bang,
you got to stop saying I'm just making stuff up.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing.
You got to stop doing that.
You know who Alan Guth is?
When I tell you to stop doing it, don't say that's exactly what you're doing.
Well, that is what you're doing. I'm sorry.
That's weird, dude.
You're just making it up. Do you know who Dr. Alan Guth is?
Yes.
Who?
Don't quiz me, man. Just tell me what he said.
Who is Dr. Alan Guth, for the sake of the audience?
Dude, I don't remember much about him. Just tell me.
Okay, so you don't really know who he is.
The name is familiar, okay?
Dr. Alan Guth.
You should stop naming guys and telling me stuff.
Dude, I'm naming science, okay? You want to know why your beliefs are absurd? I'm telling you why your beliefs are absurd, and I'm showing you. I'm showing you that this is not.
Brought up the double
showing you that
to try and say that
I am showing you
square at the beginning of the universe.
I am showing you that this is not coming from.
You're not showing me anything, dude.
This is coming from a scientist.
Okay, what did he say? I don't care about his name. What did he say?
Well, I don't think you really want to know anything at this point. I think that
I want to know what he said.
I'm going to present something to you. Now, this is my opinion. This is not a scientist.
All right.
In my opinion, you hate God. You're angry with him.
A what guy?
You are angry with God. You hate God. And denying God is the ultimate smack in the face to God.
Eric.
Now, the reason I say this,
you told me I pull things out of my ass, and look what you're doing.
The reason I'm saying this is because I'm trying to present to you what all of these scientists are saying, and why atheism is absurd.
Didn't you introduce me as an atheist?
Why the things? So,
don't you have in your title atheist Leigh Hunt?
Yes.
And now you're telling me I'm mad at God?
Yes.
Okay. Do you realize that makes no sense?
No, because I think that's what all atheists are. All atheists.
You realize that's a logical impossibility.
No, I don't.
How can someone be mad at something they don't believe in?
Well, that's just it. You see, denying God is your ultimate smack in the face to God. What did God do to you to make you angry?
Why would I want to smack in the face an entity that I don't think exists?
Well, that's what I'm
entity that doesn't exist do something to me to make me angry.
Why are you so dead set on not discussing the science and why the things you believe are absurd?
That's exactly what I want to discuss, but you keep talking about this guy.
Oh, no, that's not what you want to discuss. You won't let us discuss it. From going back to your insistence that every fossil is transitional, and the fact that we make
every fossil is transitional.
See, you don't even care that you can't test them. You don't have one tested and proven transitional fossil.
You just keep saying things that are false. The fact that you can test them is what makes biology amazing.
Show me the test.
Dude, you want me to pull it up on my wall right now?
Show me the DNA test for
You
the
keep
archaeopteryx.
asking me to show you things. I don't have the ability to show you things.
Exactly. You cannot show me the DNA for the Archaeopteryx.
Okay,
And
that's not, dude, that's not my problem, right?
that is your problem.
Why is it my
Okay.
problem that I'm on
Well,
the show
so
having a
you cannot
discussion with
prove.
you, and you are asking
You
me to
cannot
show
prove.
you
You
things that I
cannot
can't show
prove.
you?
You cannot prove a single transitional fossil exists. You don't have
Do
the DNA.
you understand, Eric? Like, it's your show. You can pull stuff up. I can't pull stuff up and show you.
You can't show me that anyway. You can't give me one
Of course
example.
I could, but
No,
I
you
can't show you right now.
Pull something up. I can load it up for you.
Just look up transitional fossil.
Dude, I've read all
Google it,
about
dude.
them. I know the claims, dude.
Well,
I
then-
know the claims. Not a single
Alright.
one. That's how I can look at you in the eye and tell you not a single one of them have been tested and proven to be transitional.
they've
and you
all
can't
been
show me
tested, and
the
they're all proven to be transitional.
Not a single one. Show me the test.
I can't show you anything, Eric. We've been over this.
Put up the link. I'll post it.
I'm not gonna go look. I can't.
You
do
can't.
that.
You can't. There isn't a link that shows.
There's a million links, Eric. I just can't do it while I'm on the show
No,
with
there's
you.
a million links that make the claim. There's not a single link. There's not even. You don't even have one link that shows an actual test proving that a transitional fossil
You should
exists.
just quit this evolution stuff.
You don't. You don't
should
have
just
one.
quit.
You don't have one. All you've got is a claim. You don't.
keep repeating that, Eric.
Okay, then post the link.
All
Post
you
it.
have is claims, Eric, that you keep repeating.
Post the link right here, right now. I'll put it up
Eric, I'm not going to post any link.
because you can't.
I could post a link, but
No,
I'm
you
not
can't.
doing it while I'm
The
on
only link you can post is a link making the claim. You cannot post a single one that's tested and proven. Not one. You're challenged, dude.
What do you want me to do, man?
I want you to post that link.
Why do you want to have evolution proven to you?
Oh no, I'm just showing that you can't prove a thing. Everything you said is complete BS. Everything.
That's pretty rude, Eric.
Well, it's true. You
Just
cannot
because
show me.
You don't know what the heck you're talking about. It doesn't. Mean
I
you
know
should-
exactly what I'm talking about, son. What I'm
you
saying
brought up-
is you
you
cannot.
brought-
How do you think I know that you can't show me one? Because
You
I've
know?
been through this.
because
I
you-
tried to find
because
out.
I told you. Because
What?
I told you, Eric.
You can't show me a single one.
I
Post
can't do
it.
that while I'm on your show. I told you I'd drop you a link.
You
after
can.
the show.
You can. Drop the link now. I'll post it for everybody.
And I also want to know, how much is my time worth to you?
What do you mean?
Well, you want me to do all this research for you. How much are you going to pay me?
Well, if you don't know it, don't claim it.
Oh, I know it. And thus
No,
I
you
claim
don't.
it.
You cannot give me one single link, not one, that shows a tested and proven transitional fossil. Not one.
Obviously, I can do that.
No,
But-
obviously you cannot.
well, you're going to keep saying I can't.
Well,
Anyways,
then
can
do
we
it.
talk about how atheism
No, I'm
is
tired of
opposed-
the claims. I'm tired of the claims.
Yeah,
I want you to
I'm
go
tired
back
of the claims.
that stop
I'm
making
tired,
the
I'm
claims.
tired of your claims that are against unequivocally proven, demonstrated facts.
I'm the one that's pulling up the scientific papers, dude.
We're talking about facts. You're denying facts.
What?
It's ridiculous. It's
here's a
ridiculous.
factor. Here's a fact right here. You did the math with me. You
What
proved
math?
that these dinosaur bones can't be over 234,000 years old.
Dude, I am aware. I've been aware of this for years.
Okay, then why do you believe the absurdity that they died out 65 million years ago?
I don't believe any absurdities.
That is absurd.
No, it's not.
Do you believe that the theropod dinosaur evolved into a bird?
Yes. When you
Okay.
have
How did
When
they
you
do
have-
that?
Eric,
How
Eric,
did they know? How did they do that in
Eric, when you
234,000?
have millions of pieces of
How did they do that in 234,000 years?
they didn't.
Exactly.
Eric,
So if these
you
dinosaurs
keep
came,
saying exactly like you made a
that's
point.
right. You keep proving my point, and
I have not proved any of your points.
you're not even seeing what you're admitting to.
No, I actually know exactly what's going on in your head and
No,
why
you
you
don't.
think you made a point. I'm like 3 steps ahead of you, and I know the point you think you made, and you didn't
Okay,
make.
what point is that?
You think that I made the point that those bones can't be that old, and so the Archaeopteryx didn't come from theropod dinosaurs.
Well, how did it?
Well, it did actually.
How? How did that happen in 234,000 years?
It didn't happen in 234,000 years.
Oh, so you're saying that Mary is wrong then? That these bones really are millions of years old,
The theory is wrong.
even though you just did the math, proving that they can't
You
be.
keep saying I'm saying things. Do you say I said some theory is wrong?
You just did the math, proving that these bones can't be over 234,000 years old.
I did the math with you. It didn't prove
according to Mary's research, her actual tests.
Did you know that those were Mary's conditions? Those aren't the actual conditions of what she found?
That's the longest anybody has ever been able to preserve them. Show me anybody preserving them longer than that.
You know, Eric, you know I can look that up after the show, right?
Do it now.
I'm not going to do it now.
Of course, because you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. You can't prove wrong one thing that I've said tonight. Not one thing.
Absolutely, I can.
No, do it.
I can prove wrong like 100 things.
You've got the floor. Do it.
Yeah, Eric, how many times am I going to tell you I'm not going to do it right now on your show?
You're not going to do it because you can't do it, okay? So stop with the claims.
Eric, I thought we were going to have a discussion. I didn't think you were going to require me to give you a multimedia presentation.
Well, I didn't expect you to make a bunch of claims that you couldn't back either. I expected you to be more honest, so, Eric, if you don't
Eric, when I am completely honest and you've been very dishonest this whole time, it's not really cool to call me dishonest.
Where have I been dishonest?
You've been telling me I'm saying things I'm not saying all along. You've been saying that you've made points that you haven't made.
So,
you pulled shit out of your ass while telling me I'm pulling shit out of my ass. Everything is backwards with you, man.
No, you don't understand the difference between an observation and a hypothesis and a falsification test.
You said that too. Well, you said I don't know the difference between those two things. That's a lie.
You tried to say your observation was your test. You still swear to it. So here's what you've got.
We went through that. You've never let me explain the difference between one type of morphology and the other.
No, it's all morphology, dude. You're just complicating your problem.
It's all on Earth. It's all happening on Earth. That's another thing it has in common.
That's all you're doing. You're complicating your problem.
How can you make your hypothesis on Earth and do your test on Earth? Just because they have a common name. They're the same thing.
See, you're not even going to be reasonable. So, you don't want.
Why don't you tell me about being an atheist?
Look, dude. What's absurd about being an atheist is, number one, making a claim that you can't back. You say there is no God.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what an atheist is, dude.
An atheist is someone that doesn't believe in any gods.
That's a ping pong ball doesn't believe in any gods. Are you a ping pong ball?
That would be an implicit atheist, and I'm not a ping pong ball.
A ping pong ball is an atheist. An atheist has a brain.
That's a silly definition.
Are you saying that ping pong does a ping pong ball?
No, Eric, I'm not saying. Eric, stop talking. I'm saying I'm an explicit atheist. I'm a person that's able to think about it and conceive gods, and I still don't believe in any of them.
Define atheist?
It's a person that doesn't believe in any gods.
No.
That would not include ping pong balls.
That's an agnostic.
No, an agnostic is someone that does not know if any gods exist or not.
Does it? Okay, but they believe in a god?
They might be a theist. They might be an agnostic theist.
No.
Yeah.
How can you be an agnostic theist? A theist is somebody that
means you believe in a god, but you don't know.
So you see, you don't even know these definitions.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of it?
Agnosticism is about knowledge.
Okay. Have you ever heard of
The root nost is Gnost, is knowledge.
I've never heard of the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy.
Everyone goes to the Stanford Encyclopedia when they want to use that one definition. Yes, it's come. They need to change that.
Well,
Yes.
oh, they need to change.
Yes,
it's not
because
you.
that's where everyone goes, because that's the only place they can find that definition. They always end up there when they're trying to use the definition you're using. They always end up at Stanford Encyclopedia.
Maybe that's because atheists want to define themselves as agnostics.
Wait till you get to the Stanford Encyclopedia, because you can read something at the beginning. They've had complaints, and so they've made a little blurb at the beginning that you need to read. I think they edited it in like 2017 or 2019. You'll see what I mean. That they say, well, we should really acknowledge this other definition, which is the one everyone uses. You'll see.
Well, you're wrong about that. You see, I've used this for the last 8 years, dude.
Oh, it was revised in March of this month. Yeah, it was March of this month. Sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I've used it several times since.
Yeah, so read it.
Okay. Yep.
Read it. Don't scroll past it. The word atheism is polysemous. It has multiple related meanings.
In philosophy, however, now, it's the discussion of God.
So that's what people like you do. You go to the Stanford Encyclopedia to find that one definition.
Are you saying discussing God is not a philosophical question?
Of course it is.
Okay, so then listen up. In philosophy, however, and more specifically in the philosophy of religion,
I've read this like 100 times.
The term atheism is standardly used to refer to the proposition that God does not exist, or more broadly, to the proposition that there are no gods.
Correct.
Thus, to be an atheist, well, you just said it otherwise. Thus, to be an atheist on this definition, it does not suffice to suspend judgment on whether or not there is a God. In other words, it is the statement, there is no God. That's what atheism is.
And you got to go back to, this generates the following definition.
What?
You should read the part before it. Read the part before it.
What? You just want to read that one part and leave out the rest. Okay,
but you just want to read that one part and leave out the rest, huh, Eric?
No, that's talking about colloquially.
You go to the one place to find that definition, and when they've actually revised the page to include the definition that I'm using, you just ignore it and go past it and read the other one.
No, they say your use is colloquial. That's what it's saying.
Yes.
Okay, colloquial. That is not what an atheist is.
It could be more than colloquial. You can find other sources where it's also philosophical.
No.
Just not at Stanford. Stanford's where you always end up. Don't you think there's a reason that people that want your definition always end up at the same website?
For example.
You know there's millions of websites, right? But you always end up at that one. You think you'd end up at different websites if it was
atheist philosophers also agree. For example, Robin Olivan writes, this is an atheist who agrees. An atheist is one who denies the existence of a personal...
Yeah, I know an atheist named
Shannon. Will you let me read?
No. Hey, I know an atheist named Shannon that agrees with you too.
Okay, if you don't know how to let me read this, let me just do that.
You know what it says.
Sorry.
So there's an atheist named Shannon that agrees with you, as well as that writer right there.
Are you going to let me read this, or do I have to mute you? Okay. So after they give the definition, they say there are some people that believe an atheist can be defined as anything. like my friend here wants to do it. But if we're speaking philosophically, then an atheist is one that denies there is a God. There is no God. And other atheist philosophers agree with that. Robin Leigh Hunt writes, an atheist is one who denies the existence of a personal transcendent creator of the universe, rather than one who simply lives his life without referring to such a being. And J.L. Schellenberger says, in philosophy, the atheist is not just someone who doesn't accept.
Get a drink.
This is another atheist speaking, another atheist philosopher who's agreeing. In philosophy, the atheist is not just someone who doesn't accept theism, but more strongly, someone who opposes it. In other words, it is the denial of theism, the claim that there is no God. The definition is also found in multiple encyclopedias and dictionaries of philosophy. For instance, in the concise Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy, William L. Rowe, who is also an atheist, writes, atheism is the position that affirms the non-existence of God. It proposes positive disbelief rather than mere suspension of belief. The Cambridge Dictionary of Philosophy recognizes multiple senses of the word, but is clear about what its standard is in philosophy. According to the Cambridge Dictionary of Philosophy, atheism is the view that there are no gods. A widely used sense denotes merely not believing in God, and is consistent with agnosticism.
Maybe this will help you out, Eric. I actually believe that there are no gods, so I'm that kind of atheist too.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I'm also correcting you.
You told me I said that. I did not say that.
This is found in several other dictionaries, several other philosophical encyclopedias, and it's agreed to by several philosophical atheists.
I don't care, Eric.
You're the one that was saying I was wrong. I'm proving again, no, I'm not.
No, you didn't prove it. I knew it was in the Stanford Dictionary. I've read that whole thing.
And I just read, you said that's the only place it was. I just proved that wrong.
Dude,
okay?
Oxford's even changed.
Dude, I just proved you wrong. Okay, I'll read it again.
No, don't read it again.
The definition is also found in multiple encyclopedias and dictionaries of philosophy.
It still says the same thing, Eric.
For example, in the concise Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy,
that's William what it said Rowe, last time you read it, Eric.
Also an atheist, writes, atheism is the position that affirms the non-existence of God. It proposes positive disbelief, blah, blah, blah. Atheism is the view that there are no gods. The Encyclopedia of...
Eric, do you want to use that definition? That's fine with me.
Well, I'm just saying you're wrong.
Hey, Eric, I'm the longest wrong guy of all time. Can we continue with the conversation, or are you just going to read?
You're the one that wanted to say that this was the only place that said it. So, if you want to die on that hill, you die on that hill.
Eric, everyone always ends up there, and I understand it has those references. I've read it like 100 times.
Then why are you saying it didn't?
I didn't say it didn't.
Yes, you did. Okay, now let's get back to
Jesus, Eric. You're such a liar that you need to make liars out of other people.
Let's get back. Oh, I'm a liar?
Yeah, you're a liar. You've been lying a lot.
Okay. Well, it's too bad you have to say that, but anyway, you have a wonderful evening. I want to thank everybody for joining.
You never got to the subject, Eric. The subject is that it's absurd to be an atheist.
Yeah, but you want to...
no gods exist, Eric.
Trip over everything you say.
Gods are all made up. They all come from mythologies. Some of them are very absurd, like the Abrahamic God. We can know the origins of that God. We know it's not real.
That's your opinion. And no, 90% of the world says you're crazy.
90% of the world is indoctrinated, and it's not 90%.
90% of the world knows there's a God. So,
the world's waking up, Eric.
No, the world's fast asleep, thinking that They have transitional fossils.
Eric,
When
you
you
have to
can't,
claim that I believe
when
absurdities.
you can't
Wake up,
prove a
project,
single
because you
one,
believe absurdities.
you can't prove a single one exists. Not a single one.
You
So there we go. At any rate, I'm really sorry that our conversation went the way that it went tonight. I really do wish that Leigh would have been a bit more reasonable. He wants to say, for instance, every fossil is transitional when he can't prove there's been a test done on even just one that proves that we have such thing as called a transitional fossil. Not a single one has ever been proven. Why? Because not a single one has been tested. There's only one way to test whether something is a transitional fossil, and that's through the DNA. You can't look at two skeletons and say, well, they're obviously related. I'm basing that on what I see, and then say, well, because I saw and hypothesized that they were related, that's my test that proves they're related. That's just insane. That's not a falsification. That's a circular argument. That's self-delusion. That's what it is. It's not science. So, atheism leads you to these absurdities. Atheism leads you to the absurdity that life comes from non-life, when all we ever observe is that life came from life. That's all we observe. Life came from life. Consciousness comes from consciousness. That's all we ever observe. So to believe otherwise is absurd. We are energy. The body dies, the soul never does. To believe otherwise is absurd. Leigh, you've got a father.
I've got a what?
That's no longer with you. You've got a father that passed away. But he's not dead. He was a Christian, Leigh. Listen to me. Your dad was a Christian. You have the opportunity, you can see him again. But that's going to be up to you. You have to drop the absurdities. You have to quit fighting so hard when people are showing you that the things you believe are absurd. You tried to fight me on absolutely everything after agreeing with me. I walked you through the math on Mary's paper. You did the math, and you said, yes, those bones can't be over 234,000 years old. But then when you saw that, that means there can't be any evolution. Evolution has to be a lie if those bones can't be over 234,000 years old. Then you try to say, I never said that. And you started laughing. That's being dishonest. And then you called me dishonest. Leigh, I hope you do well. I hope you come to the Lord. I don't think bad of you. I'm sorry that it turned out the way it did. And I'm sincere about that. But laughing everything off because it's scientific evidence that proves you're wrong. After you do the math, after you agree with every part of it, when you try to change the points, when you try to laugh it off so you don't have to look at it, so you don't have to make any admissions of absurdities, you're not doing yourself any favors. Make your dad proud, man. Be honest with yourself. You need to see how circular your arguments are. You really do. That's a defense mechanism. You're using that so you don't have to admit there is a God. You see, I think you know there's a God. I'll admit I could be wrong here. I know you've lost your dad. I don't know what else you're mad about, what you may have lost. But I believe all of this has to do with you being angry with God. But look at what you're doing now, the extent you're going to protect that disbelief. And Father, in Jesus' name, I pray for Leigh. I pray that you touch him. I pray you work with his heart. In Jesus' wonderful name, amen. And I just want to thank everybody for watching, everybody for listening. God bless you all. We have something else coming up this coming Wednesday. And hopefully that'll turn out a little bit different. I was really hoping that this time around, because of the last time, he talked about how his father was a Christian and wanted the best for him. I was hoping he would listen to things to prove that it's reasonable to believe in God. Science shows us there's a God. The book of Romans says we can look at nature and tell everything about God. Nature itself teaches us there is a God. And it does. That's what science is. The study of nature. But God bless you all. This is Eric, a.k.a. Wolpitten. Tune in this next time. Thank you for joining me for this little informal thing from the RV. God bless you guys. We love you. Bye-bye.